Welcome to councillors, members of the public and staff, present in person, joining us online and watching via YouTube this evening. I declare this meeting of Bayside Council open at 7:04 p.m. Councillors and those present in the chamber are reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual and use appropriate language and tone. Council meetings are live streamed and recorded via YouTube. Please therefore treat everyone with dignity, respect and do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws do apply to addresses in the public forum. Members of the public that have registered to speak in person will be called forward during the public forum. Please proceed to the lectern. Members of the public that have registered to address by audio-visual link are asked to keep your microphone muted and video off until invited to speak. Please note speakers will not be able to present material as part of their speaking time or share their screen. Councillors are reminded of obligations to conduct yourselves in a professional and respectful manner under the obligations of Council's Code of Meeting Practice in the interest of good governance and to adhere to meeting etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of Council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted and all present should ensure that there are no video recordings, audio recordings or photographs taken. In case of emergency, please follow the instructions of the Council staff, exit via the Town Hall floor and proceed to the evacuation point. With that being said, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. On behalf of Bayside Council, I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I now invite Pastor Andrew Harper from Bay City Church, Arncliffe, to open our meeting in prayer. Thank you, Pastor.
Bow our heads and close our eyes. God, we just lift up our community. We thank you, God, for the freedoms that we have. God, we even thank you for this meeting tonight, for the democracy that we have, for the decisions that will be made here. We thank you for this process and we just pray for wisdom in every decision. But God, we also just pause and we just pray as we enter into the festive season, a time of families coming together. God, we just lift up every person, Father God, that is doing it tough right now. Cost of living and things that are just challenging people's budgets. And God, I just reach out right now and pray for every charity right now as they collect and gather and mobilise to look after people in this Christmas season, God. We just pray for them. God, give them continued resource and volunteers, and we just pray for your favour upon them all. And finally, God, we just thank you for this meeting, and I thank you for every councillor. I thank you for our mayor and all those that give their time to this community through this avenue, and we just pray your blessing on them. In your mighty name, amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Harper. Councillors, we now move to condolences. As many of you are aware, former Mayor Stephen Holroyd recently passed away. We have a circulated mayoral minute, which will be dealt with then. Next, I'd like to acknowledge the recent and sudden passing of Borche Yosevsky, who was a respected coach, volunteer and long-standing member of the Rockdale Illington Football Club, who tragically passed away at the age of 53. Borche was deeply involved in the life of the club. He gave countless hours as a coach, mentor and volunteer. He was known for his dedication to developing young players, his commitment to the game and the generosity and warmth he brought to the Rockdale Illington community. His contribution extended far beyond the field. He played an important role in fostering teamwork, discipline and a strong sense of pride among the many young players he supported over the years. His loss will be felt not only by the club but by the wider Bayside community. On behalf of Bayside Council, I extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, friends and to everyone at Rockdale Illington. Any other councillor would like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well said in the condolence. Everything's spot on. It was a shock to all of us who knew him. Borche, or Yazik as he was known, was a man who contributed quietly yet meaningful to those around him. His warm and engaging nature made him well regarded in the community, and his presence will be missed by many. Most tragically, the saddest news out of all of it was he leaves behind his beloved daughter Jacinta, who now faces the heartbreaking loss without her father's guidance and support. She's all alone. Mother's not in the picture, so You could know how hard it is early 18, 19, 20. So our thoughts and deepest sympathies are with her during this incredibly difficult time. I'd have to put my hats off to the community rambling together. In the short space of less than a week, $65,000 were raised for the funeral costs, and they actually had to put a pause on how many donations that were being received. So it was a community-led support drive, and it's been established to assist the family, and I encourage those who are able to consider offering their help and their support. May Mr. Jasewski rest in peace.
You, Councillor Saravinovsky. Councillors, are there any other speakers? Councillor Barlow.
I just want to speak on, thank you for the mayoral minute for former Councillor Steve Holroyd, who I was lucky to share my ward with. He was the most dedicated councillor that I could ever imagine. He loved his heritage, I'll give him that. And he served, I think it's 25 years in local government, and when he finished, he was active in so many things in the SES, but he also, it was 2000, he ran the Sydney Olympics for the health department, and it's acknowledged that it was the best one. Didn't have a food poisoning scare, nothing, but he got the National Service Medal for his work with the State Emergency Service. He got the key to the city of Rockdale, but it's sad. I mean, he was just, I used to speak to him if he came to Sydney. He'd always call and see me at the shop, so we always had that contact. So it's sad to say that he's passed.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. I'll speak to that during the mayoral minute. Councillor Saravinovsky.
I was just going to add, if council would consider writing to Bexley School of Arts, where he was very prominent, to the trustees, to name a room after the late Steve Holroyd. And
Council of Officers taken that notice. That sounds very sensible.
are we done with condolences, or can I raise another one?
Are there any other condolences, councillors? Councillor
After you.
Curry.
Councillor Saravinovsky. Just want to acknowledge the passing of Philip Roy, who was a long-time member of Mascot RSL sub-branch and dedicated many years of service, and just pass our condolences to his wife Vicky and family.
You, Councillor Curry. Councillor Saravinovsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to condole on the passing of Graham Frederick Richo Richardson. Although he didn't serve as a local councillor, his roots are unmistakably local. Born in Sydney South, raised in Allawa, Cogra, went to Cogra Morris, Sydney Tech. And his story really needs to be looked at. His mum, Peggy, died of a stroke at 42, and then his dad of a heart attack at the age of 50, at a time when you can't really do much about it. So when everyone thinks all hope was lost, but he stuck in, and it shocks me as someone that had a near-death experience down Tom Ugley's Bridge. His dad took him out to take some time off and relax and a break. And when his father was driving, the car curtailed, and Graham went through the windshield, and he got placed into a brief coma, and he had over 200 stitches, and all of the stitching on his face eventually had to get bleached out. So I don't know how anyone could come back from that, and his local significance from joining the Australian Labor Party at the age of 17 in the Monterey branch, and rising through the ranks to become the General Secretary of the New South Wales Labor Party at 26, holds the record as the youngest person to ever do that. And we all know he entered the Australian Senate for over a decade under Hawke and Keating. Graham was known as a strategist, a negotiator, and a formidable political player, often described as a numbers man. Yet, beyond reputation, he was someone who believed deeply about the Labor cause and his power of political action to improve lives. Monterey, Sans Souci, Rockdale, the whole Bayside will be familiar with Graham. And one of the most touching aspects Graham did in his final chapter was he made a promise to his son when he was ill, his youngest son, that he will keep his promise of living and surviving as much as he can until his son finished HSC. And that's a promise he fulfilled. He passed away on the 8th of November 2025, aged 76, after complications of cancer for 20 plus years, influenza and pneumonia. So someone that had the grit and dedication that he did, and a lot of business owners in Rockdale were actually really upset that Graham had passed away, because you could imagine someone in federal politics, he took time out of his day to stick to his local roots. I got over 10 businesses contacting me in Rockdale that all said, and I was shocked to hear this, he would always take time out of his day to go to Rockdale. A specific location was Balkan Oven, and he'd always have a burek for 20, 30 plus years. So even with all his health implications, I have to put my hats off to him. It was an honour meeting him in Townsville. He had a restaurant up on the waterfront in Townsville, and just that, I was age 16, just that brief conversation with him, he made sure you felt within the room, you were loved, and it wasn't just all politics. It was about actually feeling the attention and actually being able to have a good, honest conversation with a good, hard-earned bloke. So on behalf of Bayside, I would like to extend our deepest condolences to his wife Amanda, his son Darcy, all the former colleagues that have mourned his loss, and I request that this condolence be recorded in the minutes of the meeting and that council write to his family expressing our sympathy and respect. May Graham rest in peace.
You, Councillor Sarabanovsky. Any other discussion? Councillor Douglas.
I just want to note also that Graham's legacy is one of the great environmental ministers in Australia's history, and was responsible for protection of the Daintree and the Franklin River, amongst the huge community groundswell for that work. So I want to acknowledge his legacy.
You, Councillor Douglas. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Naji.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to, on behalf of this council, is our sincere condolences to the Gasham family. Mohammed Ibrahim Gasham is only 43. 2 days ago, he was tragically died of being on the job. And the whole family, the whole community in Arncliffe has been in major shock, left the family behind. The family itself, the father and the mother, heavily involved with community in the Arncliffe area. So my condolences, and on behalf of council, hopefully the family will be okay.
You, Councillor Naji. Councillors, anything further? No. Move that the condolences be accepted. Those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Moving to announcements, I have the pleasure of announcing that the Angelo Onesti Aquatic Centre has recently won the prestigious 2025 Ausswim Swim School of the Year Award. 2 teachers were also recognised for their dedication and learn to swim education. This is an incredible achievement and a wonderful recognition of our centre's hard work, program, staff and dedication to swim education and community safety. On behalf of all councillors, I think we would like to thank and congratulate the staff of Angelo Onesti Aquatic Centre. And I think further, it really stands as a testament to the decision made by council a couple of years ago to bring the management of this centre back in with council staff operating it. I think that's been a really great decision and direction made by council, that we have council services provided by council staff directly, and that's our responsibility, and that's something that's worth investing in. And we've seen that at Garragarang Early Learning Centre. We've seen that at Angelo Onesti Aquatic Centre. Our staff do a great job, and they deserve to be commended. Councillors, anything further? No, thank you. We do have a number of certificates to present tonight, this evening. First off, recognising Mascot Early Education and Care Centre. We're very pleased to recognise the astounding achievement of Mascot Early Education and Care, who were recently honoured with the Young Legends Award as part of the Keep Australia Beautiful Sustainable Cities program. Their program, known as the Green Ripple Effect, is an excellent example of child-led learning as well as environmental stewardship. Through projects such as vegetable and herb gardening, composting, a worm farm, native bee habitats, bird boxes and the thriving street library, the centre has embedded sustainability into its everyday practice. This award is a testament to the dedication of the centre's staff and educators and their commitment to nurturing young environmental leaders. On behalf of Bayside Council and our community, I'd extend our warmest congratulations to our centre staff Before I ask the Centre representatives to come forward to receive this certificate, if any councillors would like to say a few words about the Mascot Early Education and Care Centre, councillors? No, thank you. I'd now like to welcome Lauren Powell, Mariam Nauman and Tazin Bichette to receive this certificate on behalf of the Centre. Councillors, please join us for a photo if you'd like. Congratulations once again. It is that time of year, and you'd be aware that Council recently invited residents to submit their designs for our 2025 Bayside Christmas street flags. Choosing winners is always a very difficult task. We have a large number of very high quality entries. There are obviously a few budding artists and some very creative people in Bayside. 4 winners were chosen for designs that will proudly fly on flagpoles across the Bayside Council area. Our winners are Adam Soleil from Arncliffe Public School, this is their flag, right? Next up, we have Lucinda Zamora from Matraville Public School.
Congratulations. Wow. Very cool.
Next up, we have Raina Hawade-Athiri from Carlton Public School. And finally, we have Kiara Daly from St Bernard's Catholic School in Botany. For all the award winners, these flags will be in place from the 1st of December through to January 2026. I think one more round of applause for all our fantastic award winners. Next up, I have the pleasure of recognising an outstanding achievement by one of our residents, Miss Betty Service. Betty was recently selected to represent Australia as part of the Foreveroos at the Walking Football World Nations Cup in Spain, where she and her team proudly won silver in the women's 60s category. Betty is also a valued member of Rockdale's Walk soccer community, where she brings dedication, sportsmanship and a wonderful enthusiasm that inspires those around her. Her success on the international stage is a tremendous accomplishment and moment of pride for both her club and for Bayside. On behalf of Bayside Council, I extend our warmest congratulations to Betty. We're delighted to recognise her achievement this evening. Please, any councillors who'd like to join us for a photo. And finally, I'm very pleased to recognise Marie Tesorero, sorry about that, also known to many, which hopefully you can pronounce as Cool Marie, on being named the 2025 Fred Hollows Humanitarian of the Year. Marie is a passionate disability advocate and an absolutely unstoppable fundraiser who's raised more than $16,000 for the Sydney Children's Hospital Foundation. She's also an active member of Bayside's Disability Inclusion Action Plan working group, for which we're very proud. Her commitment to creating a more inclusive community is sincerely appreciated. On behalf of Bayside Council and our community, I extend our warmest congratulations to Marie. Marie, please come forward and accept this certificate of congratulations from Council. Thank you, councillors. Some absolutely fantastic achievements across our community. We move to apologies, leave of absence and attendance via audio-visual link. We've received an apology from tonight from Councillor Poulos. Are there any other apologies? No. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the apologies? Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Boudelay. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We have Councillor Naji wishing to participate in the meeting via audio-visual link. Some like to move and second a motion to grant the councillor's request to attend the meeting via audio-visual link. Move Councillor Bezic, seconded Councillor Dusku. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Move to disclosures of interest. Does any councillor wish to make any disclosure of interest? Councillor Curry? No. Councillor Morrissey? No. Councillor Bezic? No. Councillor Boudelay? No. Councillor Strong? Councillor Kassim? No. Councillor Bredhoft? No. Councillor Savranovsky? No. Councillor Naji? No. Councillor Dusku? Councillor Awada?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. On item 12.1 CPE 25.034, the planning proposal for 72 Lagoff Street, Bexley North, non-peculiar, insignificant, but I will leave the chamber. My family live in close proximity to the site.
Thank you, Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow? No. Councillor Douglas? And myself, no. Minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have a mover and a seconder?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, can I make some corrections?
Yep.
To item 13.4, Scarborough North should read, and the main field, as long as it does not jeopardise the grant funded works. That was the intent on the night. That's what I've spoken. And if we can add that to make sure that there is no we cannot jeopardise the grant-funded works already being approved. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. I'm sure that'll be amended. Moving to second for the minutes. Councillor Curry, Councillor Douglas. Anything further, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Councillors, we now move to mayoral minutes. Might be most appropriate to deal with the passing of Steve Holroyd first, which has gone around as a supplementary mayoral minute. I think we should pause. I know that Councillor Barlow's already said a few words, but to acknowledge the recent passing of Stephen Holroyd, who was a former mayor, deputy mayor and long-serving independent representative of the former Rockdale Municipal and Rockdale City Councils. Steve dedicated 25 years to local government. He served as an alderman and a councillor across Rockdale Municipal and Rockdale City Council from 1979 all the way to 2004. He was mayor from 87 to 89 and deputy mayor from 97 to 98. His service was recognised by the Local Government Association of New South Wales with an award for more than 22 years of commitment to local government. Given the time he was mayor, he played a significant role in the 1988 bicentennial celebrations, contributing to several commemorative projects around Botany Bay, including the burial of a time capsule at the Rockdale Civic Centre, one of his enduring legacies. Beyond council, Steve received a National Medal for Service for his work with the SES and was actively involved in the Aircraft Noise Committee during the 1980s and 1990s. He was also honoured with a key to the City of Rockdale. Steve Holroyd's long-standing service, leadership and dedication left a lasting mark on our community. On behalf of Bayside Council, I extend our heartfelt condolences to his family and all who knew him. Would any other councillors like to say a few words? I think it was already said. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Next, the mayoral minute for the Mascot Early Education and Care Centre Sustainable Cities Award, which we've already discussed during the presentation. Would any other councillors like to say anything? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 8.2, Bayside Alive and Summer Calendar. Just putting on record the fantastic summer program we have coming up. We have an incredible array of Christmas events, and as we've seen with the flags that we've just seen, our best colours will be on display throughout the Christmas period. I'd also like to announce the ongoing branding of our events calendar as Bayside Alive, bringing some cohesion to our events calendar. We've had some fantastic new events this year. I mean, just the other day, the Greek Festival at Brighton, tens of thousands of people were out. Now, that's not our event, but there are so many opportunities for our community to come together. Any councillors who are able to join in our new Diwali celebration, that was an amazing event, and I just think we need to have a bit more of an identity around the fantastic program events we run. I think we punch well above our weight in terms of our events program. We're a very diverse community. A lot of councils have a Diwali event, or they have an Orthodox Easter event, or they have a Ramadan event. We have all of these things, and I think it's something we should be very proud of and continue to support. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Curry.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I just want to commend your leadership on driving these initiatives. The Christmas Spectaculars sound really great. We're really excited for them, and the handmade Christmas markets. And so, as you said, these events are really important, and it's great to see a focus on these. So thank you for your leadership here.
Thank you, Councillor Curry. I think it's a team effort. Councillor Douglas.
I also wanted to note your leadership, Mayor McDougall, because I remember you saying at the beginning of this term that you had a vision for a comprehensive branding for all of our events, and I think it's landed beautifully. Bayside Alive has a lot of heart, a lot of spirit, and really speaks, I think, to the cohesion that this council, I see us having together after amalgamating in 2016. I think that's right. I moved here that year. So you've always been Bayside Council to me, but I think having something that recognises that the council's alive, the heartbeat of the community is these events, and we are kicking goals together. And I will never forget the mosh pit at Diwali with the Nepalese rock band. It was gold.
We need to bring them back. Councillor Disco.
So congratulations. I've noticed a lot of the rebranding. I think that's really good. Just talking to the Greek festival, I understand that it wasn't a Bayside Council event. However, without all the people behind the scenes from Bayside Council making it happen, and it wouldn't be as successful as it was. So congratulations to everyone at Bayside Council.
Councillor Disco, any further discussion? All right, thank you, councillors. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We now move to items by exception. Obviously, the public forum items, the items where a division is required for planning matters and the notice of motion, and where councillors have a pecuniary and/or significant interest will be dealt with individually. Councillors, any other items you would like to deal with outside of that? Councillor Curry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. If we could please pull out 11.2, 11.3, 11.7. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey.
In 12.1, item CPE 25.035.
Yeah, that's a division. Yeah, all good. Councillor Bezic, Councillor Bidlay, Councillor Strong, Councillor Kasim, Councillor Brederhoft, Councillor Savranovsky's just stepped out of the room for a moment, I think. Councillor Naji, Councillor Dusku, Councillor Awada, Councillor Barlow.
CPE 25.034, oh no, that's the public forum, and CP 25.055 and 11.2, which...
CP, is that the Tyndale Reserve one? Yep. Councillor Barlow, Councillor Douglas.
I would like to pull out the report 11.1 and CPE 25.035.
That's already out.
Sorry if I missed that. CS 25.037 and CS 25.038, please.
Yeah. Councillors, anything further? I'll move in a second to deal with the remainder of the agenda by exception. Move Councillor Morrissey, second to Councillor Awada. All those in favour, all those against. Declare that carried. We now move to the public forum. Members of the public who have applied to speak at the meeting are now invited to address the meeting. Speakers are reminded that if a matter has been raised by a previous speaker, there is no need to raise the matter during your address. Please only speak on additional matters. Speakers have 3 minutes to address the council. A warning bell will sound when only 1 minute of speaking time remains. Speakers who are joining the meeting via the MS Teams are reminded to have your video off and microphone muted until invited to speak. Speakers will be removed from Teams once the item is concluded. You can then watch the remainder of the meeting on Bayside Council's YouTube channel if you so wish. If you registered a written submission prior to the meeting, please note that these have been provided to the councillors. Speakers are also reminded to keep communication factual, polite and professional and to use appropriate language and tone. We have 12 speakers tonight, starting with item 11.6, audited general purpose financial statements and special schedules for the year ended 30 June 2025. Invite Mr Chris Harper, Director of Financial Audit at the Audit Office of New South Wales, who is addressing the meeting via Teams.
Good evening, everyone. Is it okay if I share my screen with a presentation?
I think we need to have a motion in the names of Councillors Morrissey and Curry to allow the sharing of presentation. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Mr Harper, sure.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just 1 second. Okay, so good evening, Mr Mayor, Councillors and Council Executive. Thank you for the invitation to present my report on the conduct of the audit. I'm a Director in Financial Audit at the Audit Office of New South Wales. So tonight I'll be giving an update on our key audit focus areas for the local government sector and then taking you through the results of our 2025 financial statement audit for Bayside Council. So the Auditor General will table the 24-25 local government sector report later this year before Christmas. So key areas of focus I'll just touch on briefly. Financial audit outcomes. We'll be assessing the financial audit results, highlighting transparency and accountability in local government finances. Next, we're looking at financial sustainability. So this is focusing on ensuring the long-term fiscal health and efficient resource management for local governments. In terms of information technology, cyber and AI, this will really be around an emphasis on improving IT infrastructure, cybersecurity measures, and governing use of AI technologies. Another key area of focus is major projects. So this is really around monitoring progress and the impact of significant infrastructure and development projects in local government. Finally, the report will also cover internal controls and governance. So this is really highlighting around the internal controls and governance frameworks underpinning operational efficiency and compliance. So now I'll turn to the report on the conduct of the audit for Bayside Council's 30 June 2025 financial statements. So our report on the conduct of the audit and our independent auditor's report are included in the Council's general purpose financial statements. They're also included in, obviously, the agenda for today. So I'm pleased to say that we issued a clean audit opinion on the 24th of October 25 for your Council's financial statements. What does this mean? This means that the financial statements contain no material misstatements and present fairly. I'll now move on to our report on the conduct of the audit. So firstly, we're just looking at the income statement here. I'll just touch on some of the key points. So revenue and annual charges, rates of annual charges revenue, increased by 8.4 million to around 150 million, predominantly down to the rate peg increase of 5.1% as determined by IPART. Grants and contributions revenue increased by 6.3 million. This balance does fluctuate year on year depending on the timing, revenue recognition, and also the level of development activity. Council reported a positive operating result of 35.5 million for the year ending 30 June 25, which was $1.1 million higher than the prior year. Most of this increase was down to higher rates and annual charges, grants and contributions provided for capital, offset by an increase in depreciation and materials and services. Next slide is just looking at the operating results. So this really measures the profitability from operations by looking at the council's revenue compared to its expenses. As you can see on this chart, council's operating result increased slightly to $35.5 million in 24-25. After removing capital grants and contributions, it's around 5.4 million. This slide here is looking at grants and contributions revenue. So these come from various levels of government, and they're classified based on the purpose for which they are received, not for the purpose which they are spent. Cash receipts often are different to the revenue recognised in the accounts, and this is really down to requirements of Australian accounting standards, which sometimes require the deferral of revenue until future periods. As shown on this chart, operating grants decreased. This was really down to the timing of financial assistance grants. Capital grants increased by around $30 million 24-25 due to higher developer contributions. So moving on to cash flows. So this graph shows the net cash flows of the current and the prior two financial years. 24-25, the net cash flows were negative 7.6 million. There's a few drivers behind that. So net cash flows from operating activities increased by just over 7 million. That was due to an increase in grants and contributions, as I mentioned previously. Cash flows used in investing activities increased by 8.6 million, which was due to a decrease in the investments sold, offset by an increase in the acquisition of term deposits. Net cash flows used in financing remained relatively stable year on year. Just having a look at cash in a little bit more detail. So at 30 June 25, Bayside Council reported total cash and investments of 545 million. Of that, $425 million was externally restricted. This increase in external restrictions compared to last year was mainly due to increased developer contributions. It's worth noting that developer contributions account for around 80% of those external restrictions. $130 million is internally allocated. The increase in internal allocations compared to prior year was predominantly due to funds set aside for infrastructure maintenance. 30 June 25, Council reported a positive cash and investments balance after restrictions of $120 million. Just moving on to a view of Council's liquidity. So these are terms within the Act, but essentially the unrestricted current ratio is specific to local government, and it really represents Council's ability to meet its short-term obligations as they fall due. So in 23-24, the average unrestricted current ratio for metropolitan councils in New South Wales was around 3.7 times. As you can see from this chart, Bayside continues to exceed that average at 5.1 times. This next chart is continuing on the liquidity perspective, but this is looking at the number of months of general fund expenses that council can fund from its available cash and cash equivalents. It's been pretty stable over the past few years, as you can see. In terms of capital expenditure, so this chart shows for 24-25 how much council spent on renewing and also purchasing assets. In terms of renewals, 18.6 million of infrastructure, property, plant and equipment was procured in 24-25, and this was mainly spent on capital works in progress, as you can see on the chart. A further 25.7 million was spent on new assets, so essentially asset additions in the year. Just looking at council's debt, so this is looking at the debt service cover ratio for the current and prior 2 years. The increase in the ratio is due to council continuing to repay its existing loans, and also there was no new borrowings taken out during the year. So that's a quick fly through the report on the conduct of the audit. That brings me to the end of my presentation. I'd just like to thank the General Manager and the finance team for all of our cooperation during the audit. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions for Mr Harper? Thank you, Mr Harper, and appreciate your work, and our commendations to all of Council's finance staff. Put in a huge amount of work to make that happen. Councillors, do I have a mover to seconder for the report? Move Councillor Morrissey, second Councillor Brederhoft. Councillors, any discussion? All those in favour, all those against? Oh, sorry, thank you.
Sorry, just very quick. There's so much work that goes into this. So I wanted to thank Mr Harper for the presentation, which is a very high-level summary of very detailed and complex financial statements for a council, a large metropolitan council of this size, and the work that the finance team has done. If we go back, the councils were here in the first term of Bayside. This was largely in disarray, and we had all sorts of problems with qualifications and statements, and it was so much work put in, not only by internal staff, but our other people, the audit office as well, who came in and helped us resolve that. And to see now that we can actually not only get to this level of performance in the second term, but now sustain it, shows that we're in very, very good shape. So I think on behalf of all councillors, please, Mr Sheridan, pass on to the whole team our thank you for what they're doing for the community. Thank you.
Councillor Disco.
Hi, I just wanted to understand if you were to benchmark us with like similar councils, how would we fare?
Is that a question to Mr Harper?
Thanks for the question. So as I mentioned, the Auditor General will be tabling before Christmas a report which will really sort of draw some comparisons around benchmarking. It's difficult for me to comment on specifics of this council versus others, but all councils have a similar report on the conduct of the audit where you could compare those results if you wanted.
Thank you. Any further discussion, councillors?
Yes, Mr Mayor. I think Councillor Morrissey wrapped it up really well, but thank you, Mr Harper, for the presentation, and especially I want to commend and congratulate Mr Richard Sheridan and his finance team. Well done, and keep up the good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nagy. Anything further, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Thank you, Mr Harper. We now move to CPE 25.034, Planning Proposal 72 Laycock Street, Bexley North. First speaking against the officer's recommendation in person, Mr Kevin Zhu, affected neighbour. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Ryder, just leaving the room. Thank you, Mr Zhu.
Cool. Hey everyone, thanks for the opportunity to speak. Just wanted to speak to the planning proposal for 72 Laycock Street, Bexley North. My parents live right next to the former bowling club, so it impact us quite heavily. I think zoning the location to R3 is inconsistent with existing planning principles for the area. There are obviously some financial benefits with zoning it to R3, and I feel like that potentially sets some negative precedent in the future. Let's say that any other homeowners want to sell their place, there's obviously a benefit to kind of submitting a proposal to rezone for R3 as well. Additionally, one of the statements used to support this proposal was that it's to be in line with the new government guidelines. However, this location is outside of that 800-metre distance from the town centre. So just wanted to understand what other considerations have been taken. Additionally, local residents have obviously had to comply with these regulations around ensuring that we are maintaining consistency with those planning standards, but in this case, it seems like the council is taking an opposite approach. So going forward, I guess that also sets some precedent, like what is the expectation, why are there different rules for the council, and why are there different rules for residents? That's all that I had.
Thank you, Mr. Zhu. Next up, we have Ms. Nicole Kremastos, affected neighbour, joining us via Teams.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am strongly opposing the planned proposal for the following reasons. First and foremost being that if the proposed changes are approved, we will have a loss of community and recreational land use. The land was, of course, originally intended and designated as public recreational land used to serve the community, as it was a lawn bowl facility and has been for many years. Rezoning from the current zoning of RE1 public recreation to R3 medium density is almost unprecedented to publicly reclassify that land. So I would strongly encourage the council to oppose this, as it would degrade the community and the surrounding suburb. It would also impact the hundreds of neighbours around the vicinity for the following reasons. Firstly, there's increased traffic. Secondly, there will be substantial increased noise pollution and environmental impacts. And lastly, most importantly, it's a key safety concern, as there will be an influx of construction first and foremost, and a material increase of personnel if it is rezoned to RE or R3. That also leads to the potential blocking out of natural light for residents, many of whom have been within the area for 30 decades or more. And that does, of course, as I said, degrade the original intention and quality of the land. Furthermore, the land has been mismanaged for the better part of the last decade, and that has been at the expense of the surrounding neighbours and community. I strongly encourage you to do your best as councillors to propose the land is returned to its original use, being above all community and a community site. In addition, I encourage you to object to the reclassification of the site from community to operational land, which again will be changing and permanently eradicating a core part of this community, of which many of us impacted neighbours have been at for many decades now.
Thank you, Ms.
That
Francis.
is, sorry, just one more thing as I close off there. As councillors, we are entrusting you all as stewards of our safety, livelihood and general level of utility, and it is above all your responsibility to act in the best interest for us, your community. So I really do strongly encourage you to consider the hundreds of people that would be inversely impacted should we proceed with the proposed changes, and I very much encourage you to maintain the current classification and nature of the land being primarily used for community use. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Lindsay Davidson, affected neighbour, addressing in person.
I'm here representing my parents who live at 68 Laycock Street, Bexley North. They couldn't be here tonight because of the short notice given to speak today. They have lived in Laycock Street for 26 years, were members and supporters of the bowling club when it was there, and now live next to the jail-like overgrown sore that it is now. They wish to strongly and formally oppose the reclassification of 72 Laycock Street, Bexley North to R3 medium density residential. There are many things wrong with this proposal and the implications for the site if changed to R3 residential. Some of these are loss of community and recreational land. Reclassifying it for residential use removes one of the few remaining open opportunities for recreational areas. infrastructure restraints of the area currently. There is a well-documented stormwater problem that has not been mentioned in this proposal that will need to be rectified before building, and a traffic and pedestrian study that would be needed with the increase in population against normal means. Contradiction to the character of the area. R3 is inconsistent with the surrounding character and established planning principles of the area. Long-standing residents have had to comply with this when lodging their own development to the council, but suddenly, the council itself seems to be working hard to get around these long-standing requirements for their own planning proposal. This cannot even be justified by state government requirements, as 72 Laycock Street falls outside the 800-metre radius to both Kingsgrove and Bexley North stations. People in this area want this to be resolved. We want a conclusion that works for the community, but this is not it. My closing remarks to this council are, be better. This process has been mismanaged for more than 10 years, and time again you rush proposals through with little to no communication and no community consultation. This is an active community that cares about its surroundings and the people in it. It will continue to fight for what is best for the area, something you are supposed to be doing. You'll be wasting everybody's time with this motion when it goes through Gateway and gets opposed at public exhibition, and you'll have to start this whole process again. If you don't listen to the submissions that have been presented today, then at least listen to your fellow councillor, Councillor Barlow, who is also against this motion. Save everyone's time and listen to your community. Do not pass this motion.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Gordon Fay, affected neighbour.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to address council this evening. Also wish to acknowledge other local residents in the public gallery who have turned up tonight in support of what I have to say. My family are residents at 73 Laycock Street, directly opposite the site in question, and we've been residents there for some 40-odd years. We formally object to the proposed amendments to the Bayside Local Environmental Plan 2012 to rezone and reclassify the former bowling club at 72 Laycock Street. This proposal, brought by the Bayside Local Planning Panel for endorsement by councillors, did not involve any communication or consultation process to inform local residents impacted by these arrangements or amendments. Key objections to the recommendations are: we object to the rezoning of the site from RE1 to R3, which is medium density residential. The site was originally designated as public recreation land and served as a vital community space. Rezoning it for residential use removes one of the few remaining local open green space areas available to the community for social, recreational and sporting activities. It is essential for the health and well-being of today's society to maintain public open spaces for recreational purposes. I also add that with the implementation of the stage 2 of the New South Wales LMR, that there'll be more population growth in the area due to the allowance of duplexes in the R2 zone, and also any other developments that would occur within the 800-metre zone. Rezoning to R3 is inconsistent with establishing planning principles of the area. Object to applying a floor space ratio of 0.7 to 1 to site lots when current surrounding residential lots are R2 with 0.5 to 1. Also, I object to reclassifying the site from community land to operational land, as council is making its decision purely on financial grounds without consideration of the needs of the residents and ratepayers. Such a remove removes any future initiatives for council to control on behalf of its ratepayers the land for vital and sustainable community use. In summary, I reject the proposed amendments by council officers and the Bayside Local Planning Panel. We request that you seek community consultation on ideas for acceptable use of the site and suggest having community representation on the local planning panel. to maintain the current RE...
Mr. Fay, please wind up.
Sorry?
Please wind up.
Oh, okay then. For the reasons outlined, we request that the proposal not be endorsed by Council and the residents and ratepayers of this local area be informed and consulted prior to any draft proposals are made by Bayside Council and subsequently to the Department of Housing, Planning and Housing and Infrastructure. I implore Council to act responsibly and ethically in the best interests of the local community, ratepayers and the wider public to reinvest in maintaining the site as a true community asset rather than damaging the character, streetscape, amenity and aesthetics of the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fay. Our final speaker on the item, Ms. Milva Speranza.
Good evening, Mr Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. I am a local resident of Coveney Street and a former resident of Laycock Street. I've lived in the area for over 25 years and extremely concerned about this development proposal. I'm against the planning proposal to change the zoning of the land at 72 Laycock Street, Bexley North. I believe the land should remain as community land and it should be retained for green space or put up to public opinion and let the residents have a say on what they believe should happen to that land. There was no community consultation when the council decided to demolish the bowling club. And even though the property could have been saved and should have been saved, the council made the decision in secret without community consultation, which is very, very upsetting to a lot of us community members. For more than 10 years, the council mismanaged the bowling club property and locked the residents out of that property. We had access to it before. It was a vibrant community hub and they, through their own mismanagement, we've been locked out of that property. So now we need full transparency and no decision should be made without a detailed community consultation plan. Give the residents an opportunity, all the residents, an opportunity to provide feedback. Housing density in the area has increased with many new units and duplex developments, and this will further increase with the recent state government zoning change, which allows units within 800 metres of railways, and so further housing density will increase in the future. That's why it's important to retain the land for green space, as there will be a greater need for this in the future. Providing housing is not the council's responsibility. Council's responsibility should remain focused on providing local services and facilities and representing their communities to other levels of government. You're here for the people, you're not here to implement state government or federal government agendas. Council is the voice of the people, so please act in the best interest of the residents. Please don't rezone the land, don't sell the land to developers. Keep the land as community land for the residents' use and benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Speranza. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the motion? Moved, Councillor Saravinovsky. Oh, a seconder. Seconded, Councillor Dusko. Councillors, any discussion? Saravinovsky.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, sorry.
No.
If you could hear me, am I online? Can I?
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, if I could have an amendment that we move for a public forum and it can be organised, Mr. Mayor, at the town hall, inviting all the residents around that site. And I'm not going to go back in history or the past. Hearing the residents' impact for the last 10 years that they've been impacted, it is a crime in politics not to really listen to them or get them involved. Now, you are very passionate with community, Mr. Mayor, so with your indulgence, if I could move an amendment that we have a forum and invite all these residents around the site, get the staff to explain exactly what's been happening, to just make sure that they understand there will be no impact, or there will be an impact around their lives. I think over the last 10 years, it's been horrendous. And I've been through that process. I've been on council since 2004, and other councillors, like Councillor Barlow, Councillor Wada, and I'm not going to go through everyone, but there are councillors that they haven't been for the last 10 years on council. And I think it gives a great opportunity to show that this council cares about the community. We don't want no impact, no hardships on the community. And if we can do that, it'll be great. So this is my proposal for an amendment. If I get a seconder, that's great. And let's go for the debate. Thank you.
We have a seconder. Seconded Councillor Driscoll.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to retract my moving. I'm actually against the motion. I thought it was foreshadowed.
All right. We have we need a mover for the original motion then. Councillor, do you want to move? Naji, do you want to move the motion, and you can make the motion as you proposed?
That's correct. I thought it was moved. That's why I put in an amendment. But yes, if now it's lapsed, I'm more than happy, and it'll be a great initiative.
Sorry, thanks, Councillor Naji. So the motion before council is that the item be deferred for a public forum to be held, inviting all the residents affected. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Saravinovsky.
I absolutely agree that it should be deferred. I want to thank the residents for coming, the 4 in person, the 1 online, and I believe there was over 15 written submissions. The residents have said it. We need to listen to them. And the key thing that we heard was we need more open space. So we don't need any more sporting. We don't need any more things that impact our open space. So I'm of the view, if we would defer it, I agree with Councillor Naji, and include all the residents that are here, but not even the ones here, the ones on Laycock Street or anywhere in Bexley that have been affected by this. And I'm of the view that we need more open space and we should leave it.
Councillor Saravinovsky. Councillor Barlow.
I'll support it. It came as a surprise, and I thank Councillor Naji for moving it. And I do believe there's a problem with the open space, but I do believe the residents should have been consulted right from the beginning. I got such a shock with this report when I saw it. So I believe that hopefully all the councillors will support this, because there is such a complicated site and it's 10 years of history. It's quite, they put through hell. I mean, it'll be deciding whether you can have an open space, because there is 3.5 hectares down further, but there's also an increase of density along the railway lines. And where have we got any open space? Actually, no one's got any more open space designated except for Ward 4. So I think this is a great opportunity for everyone to be. It mightn't come back to exactly what they want, but at least we'll understand, or a lot of the councils will understand.
Councillor Barlow. Councillor Driscoll.
Again, I echo Councillor Barlow's comments. I was quite surprised as well. This would have to be in the last year that I've been elected as councillor for Ward 4. The main issue that has been brought up from constituents and also from interested community groups that would like to use that area as well. So I would really welcome the opportunity to get some more information around the history and also the public forum. Thank you very much.
Councillor Driscoll. Any further discussion?
Just a quick right-off reply, Mr.
Mayor. Would anybody else like to speak? Councillor Douglas.
I mean, I'm very interested in this. When I came onto council, this had gone through a long, protracted legal battle for the site, and it was quite difficult to understand the history of it. And then we, as a council, decided to make it a residential area because of the housing crisis, was my understanding. So I would like also for the councillors to be briefed on what the implications of this is, and how does this fit amongst the open spaces and recreation plan that we have put a motion up for and said that we would do, because I think we need to have that big picture vision for the area. What are the facilities that the community are asking for? What are the priorities of the council? So it does fit within a bigger planning issue. So if we could include that, that the councils be briefed on the history and how this fits with an open spaces and recreation plan.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Councillors, any further discussion? It's been a planning matter. The vote's by way of division. Councillor Curry. Sorry, Councillor Nardi, just quickly.
Look,
Still got a lot of public forum to go.
Yeah, I'll be very quick, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. And I just want to reiterate that we are elected as councillors by the ratepayers, by the residents. And these residents, the residents around this 72 Laycock has suffered and been impacted for a long time. I want to thank you with your leadership, giving us the opportunity to organise this forum, and let's communicate with the residents and let's listen to them, because that is our job. Thank you.
You, Councillor Naji. Councillor Curry. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Bezic. Councillor Bidlay. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kasim. Councillor Brederhoff. Councillor Sarabanovsky. Councillor Naji. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Douglas. And myself for declare it carried unanimously. Can we invite Councillor Awada back into the room for the residents? So we will hold a public forum inviting all the local residents along to further look at the matter. Thank you. We move to item 13.1, adoption of the Our Backyard River campaign objectives. We are joined by Mr. Jason Lakuya, representative of the Cooks River Alliance Secretariat, to address us in person.
Mr. Mayor, that was a noble attempt at my surname.
Horrible failure.
It's a good segue, actually, to open green space planning. I'm Jason Lakuye from the Cooks River Alliance. Over the years, local residents have told us clearly and consistently that they want to see the Cooks River transformed from what's been described as the sickest river in Australia into a healthy and loved waterway. So let me explain why the Our Backyard River campaign and the objectives will help in this process. For those who don't know, who are present, the Cooks River Alliance is a partnership between Bayside Council, Inner West, Canterbury Bankstown, Strathfield and Sydney Water. The partnership was created in 2011 with the realization that waterway management is larger than any one council and can't be solved in isolation. As we all know, what happens upriver impacts the bay. So the aim was and still is to leverage their combined resources, experience, knowledge and skills to address the complex environmental planning issues facing the Cooks River catchment. It's important to note here that there is currently no legislative requirement for councils and Sydney Water to work together like this. You do it because it's the right thing to do and it's best for the river. As such, the Alliance is held together by the trust and goodwill and social license that we all hold together. It's important also to note that the Alliance is not an external organization. You are the Cooks River Alliance. Over the past 14 years, the Alliance has brought in millions of dollars in funding for the river and led to significant environmental and community outcomes, including the Cooks River Catchment Aboriginal History Project, the restoration of Landing Lights wetland, support for the renaturalisation of Muddy Creek, and most recently, the establishment of the Peter Bulger wetlands in St. Peters. Unfortunately, the lack of coordination across jurisdictional boundaries continues to be a key issue, and there's no shortage of plans to improve the river. Despite best efforts, managing the Cooks River catchment has been piecemeal and progress has been slow. So we know what needs to be done. We know that a new approach is needed to accelerate change and attract investment that the river needs. Earlier this year, the Cooks River Alliance team, my team, worked together with representatives of member organisations, including Bayside Council, to develop a fun, accessible storytelling campaign to galvanise support for actions to revive the river across all council boundaries. The result was the Our Backyard River campaign. The Our Backyard River campaign helps to create an overarching narrative that everyone can get behind and get involved in. The campaign draws on the unique character of the Cooks River catchment, something familiar and human scale, the river in our backyard. Campaign launched in April with ads on Telstra phone booths and digital billboards across the city. Council supported during the launch by sharing the video series on social media and most recently by incorporating the brand at the recent Project Planet event. The campaign is the first step towards a catchment-wide master plan for the river that will use the campaign as a vehicle for a more holistic approach to management across the boundaries. At its core, the campaign's objectives are to reaffirm our shared objective to revive the river establish shared measurements for success, and foster mutually reinforcing activities to maximise results. Bayside Council is an essential partner in the Alliance, and we can't do this work without you. That's why we're asking Council's support to formally adopt the Backyard River, take an active role in the Alliance, and in the development of a catchment-wide master plan. It's our backyard river, and we need you to have its back. Thank you very much.
Councillors, do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Douglas, second Councillor Kassim. Councillor Douglas.
I wanted to thank the Speaker and the Cooks River Alliance. They're a very inspiring community and council organisation. And I wanted to also thank Councillor Brederhoff, Councillor Strong and Councillor Kassim, who co-sponsored this motion, and particularly Councillor Strong, who's our voting representative on the Cooks River Alliance. We're asking the Council to formally adopt the Our Backyard River campaign objectives. And it's a campaign that our own staff helped to create, one that has been recognised with high commendation by the Committee for Sydney. This initiative reframes our shared river as our shared backyard, a natural and cultural asset that connects communities across the whole catchment. By adopting these objectives, Bayside commits to active participation in the Cooks River Master Plan and ensures that our messaging, education programs and communication align with our partner councils and community organisations. This strengthens our eligibility for major external funding for litter and microplastic preventions, biodiversity restoration, climate resilience, stormwater and flood management, and active transport improvements. And this motion also asks the General Manager to write to Sydney Airport Corporation to strengthen their engagement and support for catchment projects. So this is a small step with a big impact, working towards improving water quality, flowing into our beautiful Botany Bay, strengthening our climate resilience and helping our community reconnect with a river system that really should be much better celebrated.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Any further discussion, noting we still have a number of speakers in the public forum? Councillor Strong.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Jason for the speech and for all your advocacy for that river. It's very inspiring. This is a chance for us to strengthen our commitment to one of Bayside's most important natural cultural assets, the Cooks River, along with the Willow Creek and Muddy Creek. It's a great place to go kayaking. I enjoy going along there with my kids. It's a great ecological and recreational asset. So yeah, our Back River campaign reframes these waterways not as forgotten drains, but as a shared backyard for us all to enjoy. Places of ecology, history, recreation and community identity. By formally adopting it, our Backyard River objectives, we align with our partner councils and strengthen our eligibility for major environmental active transport funding, and we support a coordinated catchment-wide approach to resilience, biodiversity, stormwater improvement and flood mitigation. So yeah, this is about stewardship, partnership and reconnecting our residents with the river system that connects us all. So I strongly support this motion.
Councillor Strong. Further speakers, councillors. Councillor Barlow.
Just to thank Jason that came down to Fix It Sisters and talked the Fix It Sisters into being streamwatched. So we're the first ones that have done it. We do it on a regular basis and the river is quite clean. Quite amazing, but it is. Just got to be careful that you don't fall in the water with the bottle attached to it, because you've got to go down the boat ramp. But we thank Jason for that because they were looking for people. They provided all the equipment because we didn't have the money to do that. We've been trained to do it. We now actually have someone that's done it before. So they are getting their information from the Fix It Sisters at Kiama on the boat ramp.
Thank you. Councillors, anything further? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. I move to item 13.5, protect our children, beaches, our wildlife and from dangerous jet ski use. For the officer's recommendation, we have Miss Elise Trusis joining us online via Teams.
Oh, hello. Good evening, Mayor and councillors and staff. My name is Elise Trusis and I'm a local resident of Banksia. I am speaking today in strong support of item 13.5. Bayside's foreshore is one of our greatest community assets, a place where children, families and communities meet and swim. Also, where shorebirds feed and rest. Over the past few years, we've seen the increased risk posed by dangerous and reckless jet skis behaviour. This has been highlighted recently in the media. This is not a responsible riders. It is about a visible group who continue to treat our beach and shallow swimming areas as a high-speed playground, and also creating lots of fear of parents with young children swimming. And it also has aggravated and caused frustration for residents, as we cannot use our local beaches. At times, genuine fear also for paddlers alike and wildlife. The community has been clear through petitions, emails, and direct conversations. Residents are asking for stronger action and also long-term solutions. Item 13.5 sets out a proactive and balanced path forward. It proposes exclusion zones, designated landing areas, protected environments, enabling CCTV to find those people who do not follow the rules. I feel these are all sensible measures. In short, there is a thoughtful, balanced and community-driven motion that aligns with what local residents have been asking for years. It aligns with what local residents have been asking for years and provides a clear framework for long-term safety and environmental stewardship. For these reasons, I respectfully urge councillors to support item 13.5. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Trucis. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you, Alisi, for your bravery speaking tonight on this issue and for standing up for our community. And thank you, councillors. Our community has been very clear over and over again that our coastline should be safe, peaceful and family-friendly, not a place of danger or avoidable tragedy. We've heard concerns loud and clear that frequently reckless jet ski users are spoiling it for the many who come to enjoy our beaches. So we need to upgrade the laws. We need to set standards for modern safety that keep up with these modern PWC, personal watercraft machines. And we need to make our solutions accessible, effective and fair. For this motion, I have consulted with hundreds of beach users, including many concerned mum and dads, a local sailing club, kayakers, windsurfers, native bird experts, Maritime Transport, Marine Police, St George Police, Steve Camper's office, council staff and the Mayor, Marine Rescue, Watercraft Zone Publication, and just tonight a boat lobby group that we met with the Mayor. And I want to note the recent petition, Protect Our Children, Our Beaches and Our Wildlife from Dangerous Jet Ski Use, signed by residents who simply want to feel safe in the water and see our wildlife protected. It had 767 signatures from one social media post. This comes at a time of deep community grief. Tonight we must acknowledge the tragic death of 15-year-old Mitchell Irvine, who didn't make it to his 16th birthday, and our extended sincere condolences and respect to his family. Andrea's strength behind the scenes and in the public eye, pushing for stronger regulation, shows how urgently we need to reform to prevent further harm. They have been on mainstream national media just this week, calling for Andrea and her husband, calling for reforms mentioned in this motion. So we welcome the recent increase in police and maritime patrols, but officers cannot be on the water 24 hours a day, nor should taxpayers carry the ongoing cost of policing a small group who refuse to do the right thing. We do not allow high-speed motorbikes in our parks. We do not tolerate wheelies or donuts on our roads. This is about applying the same common sense protections on the water as we already have on land. So this motion asks that Council undertakes an extensive community consultation on the preferred options available to local government and the New South Wales State Government to more permanently control or limit the danger from jet skis to swimmers and other users of our beautiful bay. It includes raising the legal age for jet ski operation from 12 to 16 with adult supervision for younger drivers, linking boat and driver's licences so dangerous behaviour has real-world consequences, allowing CCTV enforcement and stronger penalties, and enhancing police and maritime powers to confiscate jet skis for reckless operation. And on local measures that Council can help implement, we need to consult on these matters: a river-to-river jet ski landing exclusion zone, a jet ski exclusion zone from Captain Cook Bridge to Dolls Point to protect our endangered shorebirds, and assessing whether Commonwealth Beach or Tower Beach could be used as a designated controlled jet ski area. I want to also note the interim steps from New South Wales Maritime, which are clearer signage and more buoys, which are welcome. Noting that the boat lobbyist we met with today gave us details on a safe systems approach, which included exclusion zones, and he said he too is advocating for like ways to toughen up tools for regulation and ensure that these tools are indeed prosecuted. This is a pro-safety, pro-community and pro-environment activity motion being brought today by myself and community members. By supporting this motion, we can help protect people, protect wildlife and restore the safety our beach users deserve.
Thank you, councillors. Any further discussion? Councillor
I'd like
Strong.
I think this is an important motion to support. I've witnessed unsafe behaviour down at the Georges River Sailing Club where my children do sailing. And there just needs to be control. It's not saying don't have any jet skis. Obviously, people getting out on them, that they're outside and they're doing that. But we need to find a practical solution to protect our residents' wildlife, providing safe areas for jet ski enthusiasts to enjoy their sport. But with thoughtful planning, we can restore safety, respect and a shared enjoyment along our beautiful local coastline. Thank you.
Councillor Strong. Councillors, any further discussion? No. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Thank you, Ms Trussis. The motion was carried. Item 13.7, revoking interim heritage order 116 Villiers Street, Rockdale. First up, we have Ms Tina Workman, interested resident, speaking against the officer's recommendation. Ms Workman.
Hello. I'm speaking against the motion put forward by Councillor Bezic. Whilst I appreciate this is a really delicate issue, I'll start by emphasising that the whole point of an interim heritage order is to determine if a house is actually significant. By accepting this motion, we condemn this house to demolition before council staff have had a chance to do their jobs. I understand that this house had been identified by council in the past as being worthy of inclusion in council's heritage register, but the last time council gazetted an individual house for heritage conservation was way back in the 1980s. 116 Villiers, known as Hillside, is unique. It's a large, intact Federation-era house surrounded by a sea of standard California bungalows. As far as we know, architecturally, it is one of a kind in the area. As the heritage report was not included as an attachment and I understand has not been seen by councillors, I fail to see how this motion can actually be considered. The report states that the house does not meet the threshold for listing. I disagree. Specifically, it meets criteria B, C and F, more than enough to meet the threshold, as only two criteria need to be met. The report suggests that the house contains a mix of styles. This is also incorrect. It's actually one of the most remarkable things about this house is that the footprint appears to be unchanged from the day it was built. In contrast, council's own Lytham Hall has had two unsympathetic extensions and is a mix of styles, yet Lytham Hall is deemed worthy of a state heritage listing. The report refers to the property as ageing and dilapidated. Well, it is an ageing property, and that is the beauty of the property and the reason why it needs to be protected, but it is far from dilapidation. I visited the house before it was put on the market and it was not dilapidated, nor has the fabric been degraded in any way as stated in the report. Aside from some peeling paint in the ceiling and changes from decoration and finishing, the interior is in excellent, largely original condition. Floors, walls, ornate ceilings, picture rails, architraves, cornices, fan lights over the doors, all intact and all in good order. I've never actually seen a house in such good order. The entry contains a rare tessellated tile floor, which is stunning and in fantastic condition. The exterior is great, sandstone and slate roofs are in perfect condition, brickwork is without a single crack in the mortar. A heritage listing does not mean that the property cannot be developed. If the purchaser is indeed keen to invest in the community, I would encourage them to look at architecturally significant properties which have been saved through heritage orders without demolition. Some of these include Victoria House in Bexley, De Pedo in Arncliffe and the Sawell Terraces in
Ms.
Brighton.
Workman, please wrap up.
I'm almost finished. These are some of your local examples. Demolishing an architecturally worthy house is just thoughtless development, and we already have too much of that in this LGA. Once it's gone forever, and the loss is permanent. Please do not accept this motion until council staff have done their job. Thank you.
Speaking for the motion, Dr. Ali Amin.
Mayor and councillors, my name is Dr. Ali Amin, and I stand before you tonight with my heavily pregnant wife, Reem, and our 2-year-old son, Laith, a very loud son, I should say. We are the purchasers of 116 Villiers Street, Rockdale, the place we would hope to become our family home, and where we plan to build a second dwelling to rent to another young family. Beside us is Mr. Daniel Justin, representing his mother, Miss Robin Cecile Justin, who owned the property for nearly 50 years. She suffers from dementia, resides in a nursing home, and cannot speak for herself, but Daniel is here to honour her and her history. Tonight, we are here out of desperation. The decision you make will have a real and lasting consequence to my family. We were stunned to learn that council imposed an interim heritage order on the property without warning, without consultation, only weeks after we had purchased it. What should have been one of the happiest milestones of our lives has now instead become a period of enormous stress, fear, anxiety and uncertainty. We had dreamed of raising our children close to their grandparents in a community we love, and instead we have been met with a decision that has shaken our family to its core. And what makes this even more difficult to understand is nothing, absolutely nothing, indicated that this property had any heritage significance. The 10.7 certificate issued by Council on the 4th September 2025 clearly stated that the land was not in a conservation area and contained no heritage item. I did my due diligence. I reviewed past studies, including the highly regarded GML Heritage Study. Not once was this property ever identified as having any heritage value. If it had been, I would not have purchased it. To make sure we approach this respectfully and thoroughly, I engaged one of Sydney's leading heritage experts, Zoltan Kovacs, to prepare a comprehensive heritage impact assessment. You all have his report. His findings were unequivocal. The property has no historical significance, has no meaningful historical associations, has no notable aesthetic or technical architectural value, has no social, cultural or spiritual significance, has no research potential, has no rarity, and does not satisfy any criterion that would justify heritage listing. So how is it fair? How is it just for council to impose such a life-altering order without any evidence, without any investigation, or even a basic conversation with the affected families? This interim heritage order has already reduced the value of the property by over $1 million. Please pause and truly consider that. $1 million wiped overnight. I ask each of you to imagine, sincerely, how would you feel if your family's nest egg, your future, your children's future, your security, their security, suddenly dropped by $1 million because of a decision made without consultation or evidence? I have not settled yet on the property. I now face the very real risk. I've now faced the very real risk of losing my deposit and having the bank devalue the property and recalling on the loan, and leave me unable to complete on the purchase. This has major consequences for my family and for the Justin family. This is not a minor inconvenience. This could financially devastate my family. I am on the horizon of becoming bankrupt. I have received advice to take this matter to the Civil and to the Land Environment Court. How would Bayside ratepayers feel about footing this bill? I want to be clear. I'm not a developer. I'm not speculating or attempting to overbuild. I am a senior lecturer in civil engineering at the University of Sydney. My wife is a former school teacher and now caring for our young son and preparing for our second child. We are a hard-working family trying to simply build a future and build a home and secure our future. And instead of feeling welcomed into this community, we now feel overlooked and caught in a process that could cause irreparable harm. I feel like council has not been transparent in their approach, and this directly contradicts their core values and strategies. We also want to acknowledge the Justin family. They have lived in this home since 1975. In 50 years, not once was this property ever identified as having any heritage significance. If the property had any heritage significance, how could something supposedly so important be overlooked for over half a century? The reality is that this sudden intervention is not the result of careful planning, evidence, or community consultation. It is entirely reactionary. And when a decision of this magnitude is made without proper process, without long-term assessment, and without consultation, it demonstrates a serious failure in council's procedures, one that is now causing profound and unnecessary harm to 2 families. I've heard suggestions from some of you about retaining and adaptively reusing the existing house for a dual occupancy. Unfortunately, this is not feasible because, 1, there is little opportunity to add to the front or either side of the property due to its central location on the lot. 2, in addition to the western rear would compromise the ability of either dwelling to obtain suitable amenity. And 3, a dual occupancy would not be available. Mayor and councillors, we are asking respectfully, sincerely and with great urgency, please revoke this interim heritage order. Allow us to build our home, raise our children and contribute to the Bayside community without this unjust and unnecessary burden. Thank you for your time, your understanding and consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Amin. Next, speaking against the motion, Mr. Michael Drew, interested resident and guide at Lytton Hall.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak in recommendation that the interim heritage order remain in place. I have the privilege of being able to both live in and work in heritage listed buildings in Bayside. I live in St Elmo in Harrow Road, Bexley, and I work as a guide at Council's own showpiece, Lytton Hall. It wasn't until I began to rent a portion of St Elmo 3 years ago that I fully realised how important older buildings are to a community, whether they're heritage listed or not. I've had people knock on my door and want to talk about St Elmo. Just people walking past tell me how much they love it. I've had a not-so-young TAFE student describe how she wanted to do an assignment for her final project about my home. And I too intend to use it for an assignment in my Master of History study. When I tell visitors at Lytton Hall that I live in a heritage building in Harrow Road, they usually say something like, "Not St Elmo's, I love St Elmo's. Every time I go past, I stop and admire the building." These buildings are important, not just for those who live there, but all the whole community. When the house was offered up for sale, the estate agent's description of Hillside, and it's clearly displayed on a sign outside the building even today, refers to it as a stunning Federation home, hardly an ageing and dilapidated dwelling. As someone who's ageing himself, I don't think age is necessarily a bad thing. The criteria for heritage listing of a dwelling includes having a special association with important people. We know that William John Berryman, one of only 20 people to have held the position of Mayor of Bexley, lived in Hillside. Surely he's important enough for consideration. I don't doubt that Council has the power, as the supporting statement says, to revoke an interim heritage order. But I ask, why would you? Why not trust the process that is in place to make an unbiased assessment of the value of this beautiful building? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. A final speaker in the public forum tonight is Mr. Reg Heineman, interested citizen, speaking against the motion.
The subject property, Hillside, is described as being ageing and dilapidated, as though this is automatic justification for demolition. Well, I live in an ageing house, Tonbridge, circa 1887, only a few blocks away from Hillside. In 2004, Tonbridge could genuinely have been called dilapidated. It was insecure, subject to dry rot, and while it was raining before we had purchased, we looked through the window and could see a continuous curtain of rain droplets all across the office. Nevertheless, we went ahead and purchased the property. Why? Well, because the original main section of the building was well built, we liked the neighbourhood, and it's positioned with views to Botany Bay, and it has a fascinating history. Since 2004, we sought and received Council's approval to remove the entire frontage of the building, despite it being heritage listed. The DA was approved because in the early 1950s the original frontage was removed, and we proposed to bring the frontage back to the way it was in circa 1887. Council's heritage officer at the time was positively delighted. So, being heritage listed does not necessarily harbour the dire portents that many people may think. Hopefully my 21-year ownership and the maintenance and improvement regime I have conducted on Tonbridge is testament to what can be achieved to enhance the heritage character of the house, the streetscape and the district. I'm very proud of my work on Tonbridge, and by cherishing, respecting and resurrecting old historical homes, others could do the same. I will continue to enjoy Tonbridge for as long as I am able. My point is that Hillside could be treated in like manner, preserving its history and character. It is not mandatory to destroy a solid, well-built house to achieve a comfortable, satisfying and rewarding home. We do need to push back against the demolition of old historical properties, whether they are heritage listed or not. The purpose of the IHO is to allow all things to be properly considered, including the Council's detailed heritage assessment. This has not been done as yet, so I suggest that a vote tonight is premature and that the matter should be deferred. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hyman. Councillors, do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Bezic, seconded Councillor Boudeleau. Councillor Bezic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the speakers coming up to share their views. The whole issue is the fact of the timing. Why was not this done before the sale? Why was not this done? They've had 10 years, 15 years, even 3 months before the sale. We had issued a 10.7 certificate that was clear, and a few months later we put an IHO on it. Why wasn't it done before? And all the speakers that came and saw the house, why didn't they lobby to put this on before? Now this has caused irreparable harm to Dr. Amin, and for the record, it's the first time I've seen him. I don't know Dr. Amin, but the point is we should have done this. We had plenty of time before, not retrospectively as soon as an exchange of the contracts took place. Ben, it's such an important issue. I think it has to be brought to councils. We can all debate it and we can record our votes against which way we sit on this matter. Thank you. I open it to the floor.
Thank you, Councillor Bezic. Councillor Staravinovsky.
I'm sure the residents and my fellow councillors would, appreciate a bit more information on it. So can I ask a question to the GM or through the chair? When was council notified about this?
General Manager.
Through the chair, I can only speak for when I was notified, and that would have been on the same day that I sent a message to each of the councillors. That was my first understanding of what was proceeding on the property.
So, is it a fair question to say because of the late notice, council acted late? Because I'm of the understanding that council was notified a bit earlier.
The director may be aware of when council was actually notified. I would imagine it's only a number of days before it came to my attention. Obviously, there is a history here that goes back until the early 1990s, and I have sent a package out to all councillors today that includes a lot of that background information.
No, thank you for that. One last one. Since or before the IHO, has council sought or undertaken any legal advice?
We haven't sought exterior legal advice. We have our own legal counsel within council, and we have had that discussion with our internal legal people. Obviously, we have followed a process that is very clearly described and that has to be verified by Parliamentary Council before it can be, an interim heritage order can be given. That process was followed.
No, thank you for clearing that up. Mr Mayor, can I move a foreshadowed motion removing point 3 and point 2? And point 2 being, the new point 2, I'm accepting point 1. Point 2 being council defers this till we've completed the heritage assessment, not the heritage report, the heritage assessment, and undertaken further legal advice on this, because as councillors I don't feel comfortable making an operational decision without all of the full information in front of me.
Do we have a seconder for the foreshadowed motion? Seconded Councillor Kassim. Councillors, further discussion?
Yeah, Mr Mayor.
Councillor
if I
Naji.
could, in support of the motion. Sorry, can you hear me? Yep.
The foreshadowed motion needs to delete the first two. Yes, Councillor Naji, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, in support of the motion, let me start by saying, wow, I can't believe what I've just heard, Mr Mayor, in the public forum. You've got a young family man with a pregnant wife. He's on the verge of becoming bankrupt because of a decision made sporadically. This is really unfair, Mr Mayor. Why should a Bayside family man suffer because of a decision made by council? I don't know anyone in this chamber that could say to me with a straight face that losing $1 million overnight is something that we shouldn't be worried about. You heard in public forum that this fine young gentleman has bankruptcy on the cards because of this interim heritage order. Mr Mayor and councillors, I don't recall seeing this come to the council meeting. I don't remember seeing an interim heritage order report or a report explaining why this man's property should be heritage listed. I haven't seen an LEP, Mr Mayor, that suggests this street or the property should be heritage listed. I have not seen any heritage consultants or professionals in the field to give us a report. The only report we have in front of us from an independent report that was a heritage consultant that was provided by the applicant or the new purchaser. And what kind of a basket case is this? Basket, sorry, in case you heard something else. What kind of a basket case is this? We have a young man with a pregnant wife, God bless him, telling us today that what we have done or what council has done could send him bankrupt. I'm quite certain that under the Local Government Act, we should all look into it, I did, an interim heritage order probably should have come to the council floor before it was imposed. Now, going back, Emery Lane, my former teacher, the late Ron Rathbone, who actually encouraged me and got me into politics, told me at the time in 1991 that Rockdale Council has brought in heritage consultants with an S, not just one, to review the whole LGA, the whole area. Mr. Mayor, those consultants, they've reviewed suburb by suburb, street by street. Now, why didn't these heritage consultants put down the property or the street that may be because it is not heritage? And Councillor Saranovsky raised a critical question. Why did we do this after the purchase rather than beforehand? Let me tell you what I know without prejudice, that the council was advised while the property was on the market. Now, I know I'm not a lawyer. We've got one lawyer in this chamber, and I'm not going to direct that at him or put him on the spot. The council found out while the property was on the market. I believe that the council should have acted while the property was on the council, so any purchaser going to the market, going to the auction, would have known whether there is an interim order or not. So this is the critical part, Mr. Mayor, especially when we've heard that the person that purchased the property got a 10.7 certificate issued by this council. And Mr. Barber can correct me if I'm misleading or I'm saying something wrong, that this 10.7 certificate will indicate if there's a flooding prone impact, if there's a zoning regarding height or FSR, if there's an issue with state environmental issues, and if it's heritage listed. But it didn't. And the purchaser, in good faith, and like Councillor Bezic, I've never met this purchaser in my life. I've never spoken to him prior or in my life. So, Mr. Mayor, we're talking about fairness and justice, and I'm going to share something that might be relevant or important to some councillors, or maybe they'll disregard my opinion. You won't believe it. Not long ago, after this interim heritage order was gazetted, a very high-profile lawyer came into my shop. He always eats every now and then. He's always there. So I asked him, do you mind if we sit down for 2 minutes and go through? And I told him exactly what has happened. And because the purchaser got the 10.7 certificate, any losses, any amount of losses, we could be liable, Mr. Mayor. And that is from a high-profile lawyer. Now, are we going to risk going to the Environment Court, local Environment Court, and God knows the costing, the money, the value, and it's all ratepayers' money. It's not mine, Mr. Mayor, or yours, or Councillor Bezic, or Councillor Saranovsky. It's the ratepayers' money. Now, what is so critical is why this property was not listed, like the Speaker said, 50 years ago, and so on. We've had, Mr. Mayor, so many LEPs that reviewed the heritage review. Nothing was coming up. And I went and looked at that property. Some might argue, I'm not an expert, I'm not a developer or a planner or a heritage consultant. I looked at it and it's not in a great shape. But don't worry, park that aside. But I went around the corner, 43 Oswald Street. It had more of a threshold to be listed as a heritage property. And I looked it up, it's not listed. Again, the council did not list those properties. But I've driven further around Villiers Street, Clarence Street, and there are so many Of course, Lytham Hall is a state significant. No one can go there. But I've looked around the area, just the immediate area. Most of them are Federation-style homes. And what, are we going to stop everyone from buying a property? After the fact, we tell them, oh, this property is going to be heritage listed because a certain person went and saw a councillor, informed the director, and they waited to see what would come out of the purchase, the sale. And when the sale went through and there was a CDC, that's when within 24 hours, and I respect the GM, let me give you the date. On Thursday, the 23rd of the 10th at 16:55, we received that email. We all received it to indicate whether we will support an interim order or not. On Friday, the 24th of the 10th at 13:13, I don't like these numbers because 13 is a bad luck number. So 13 hours, we got the SMS to say that there's been an interim order, heritage order, placed and gazetted. I was shocked. That's within 24 hours. We acted so swift. But again, when we come to the residents, Mr. Mayor, the community, we're supposed to uphold their integrity and honesty and everything, Mr. Mayor. So you telling me the place around the corner, 43 Oswald Street, if someone buys it and they want to do whatever they in their vision to do, are we going to stop them with another interim heritage order? That's why I'm going to support this motion, because we shouldn't be doing these interim heritage orders sporadically on baseless claim from one person that has not provided any professional advice or any reports, because they're not experts at it. I'm not. So what we have a report in front of us, I'm going to support that notice of motion that's been put up by Councillor Bezic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Najee. Any further speakers? Councillor Douglas, I think, was up first.
I've tried.
So I guess the question from the residents, and I do feel for you, the question was, why wasn't this done beforehand? I hear you loud and clear. I think you're caught up in a bigger issue, is my simple analogy. Unfortunately, this is systematic of a wider, deeper issue going on in Bayside Council, and this is one of the top areas of community concern that comes to me as a councillor, is lack of heritage protection. And hear me out, because I want to give you the time of day to explain the context, okay? So, unfortunately, Rockdale Council doesn't have a great reputation for heritage protection. The council was amalgamated in 2016, 2017. Botany had a much better track record with historical protections. And in fact, the Botany Historical Trust has an active role in assessing development applications. We don't have that same level of transparency and community interaction on the Rockdale side. So we as a council have been acknowledging this, and we are working towards a bigger heritage strategy. It is on our agenda, and I'm sorry you can't speak while I'm speaking, but it is one of the things that we are doing this term of council. We are proactive, we are on the front foot. It has been discussed at multiple committee meetings. It's in process. And it's because we have very many spectacular homes that are being demolished, like in Herbert Street, Rockdale recently. There's beautiful homes that are being lost in Bexley, throughout Carlton. The community grieves every time these homes are being lost. We hear it loud and clear, over and over, but mostly from the Rockdale side of council. We hear that Bayside Council is not doing enough for heritage protection. And these losses are permanent. Once they're gone forever. So we also know that complying development is very unpopular. It is making a mockery of councils and local planning, and there are big pushes by other councils like Georges River to do reforms on complying development because they lack the transparency for the residents around them. They strip away our ability to consider character, heritage, trees and community expectations.
and the community hates it. So they can see their trees changing without their streets, I should say, changing without anyone being accountable. So that's why we as a council are catching up with other councils around us and responding to a very loud choir who want more heritage protections. And I'm sorry that you're caught up in that. But it doesn't mean you can't renovate and improve the property. It just means that you need to do it sympathetically to the historical value of the home, which is very beautiful, historic. I haven't been to the home, I've seen the photos. It's stunning.
Councillor Douglas. No, unfortunately, our code of meeting practice doesn't allow that. Sorry, Councillor Wyder. I think Councillor Kassim was next, then Bretta Houghton, then yourself. And then Councillor Barlow.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you to everyone who has spoken. I think there's been a lot of sense and a lot of heart said by everybody here tonight. And I too want to say how sorry I am that you have been caught up in this. It's a terrible situation which I certainly wouldn't want to be in myself. I don't think anyone would. And I guess, you know, following on from what is said, what the lesson for me in this is that we really do need to, as a council, improve the way in which we handle heritage buildings. My understanding, actually, contrary to the advice everyone said, is that, in fact, this house was listed in the 1990s, in that 1990s report. But it actually, like, nobody knew it. Somehow it dropped off the list, or, you know, like it just got, you know, it's not there. So I guess what that tells me, there's something really wrong with our processes. You know, because if something is of historical value...
Just a point of order, Mr Mayor. Was that a true statement about being listed at 1990?
The General Manager can respond to that.
Through the Chair, yes, the right word would not be listed. It was certainly assessed in the Council's 1991 Heritage Assessment. It was recommended for listing at that point. We're not quite sure why, but at that time, Council did not decide to go ahead with listing all of the properties that were recommended by the heritage consultant. And I think some of you might recall that individual owners could have their properties retracted from the list. Council agreed to that at the time back in the 90s.
Thank you.
So that's the process we're talking about, you know, that in other words, we're in this situation where because of individual actions by, you know, previous landowners, etc., existing landholders, things which might be considered to be historic actually are not listed as historic. And that puts any potential buyer in a terrible situation. So for me, really, the moral of the story in this is we need to improve the way we list things. We need to improve the way we track things. We need to have the capacity, as someone has said, if it's true, I've got no idea, you know, at the time something's on, some property is put up for sale. You know, we need to have the capacity to somehow flag, well, it may not be on a list now, but it was recommended in 1990, or, you know, whatever the story is, to flag that, well, actually, you know, there could be consideration that this is, in fact, a historic building. You know, the other thing is that, you know, we need to be clear about how, you know, what the options are as well for people who do purchase properties which are historic in terms of what they can do with it. I mean, it's appalling. The thought for me, it's appalling of losing $1 million on a property is like, oh my goodness, pit in the stomach. But maybe that's something to do with the fact that people don't realise you can do things with properties which are declared historic. I mean, so it seems to me that there are at least two things which we need to fix as a council here so that this appalling situation never happens again. you know, and that we are actually able to protect the rights and interests of individuals and the rights which have been expressed very cogently by other speakers, the rights of the community to historic homes. Because that's essentially, you know, the balance which council is being asked to make here. I was actually going to ask the Chair for a question really about how long this will take, because that goes to the question of when this decision's made, and I'm hearing, you know, people are on the point of settlement, etc. Is it possible to in any way expedite the consideration of this assessment so that we can consider this, like, you know, less time than 6 months, which is what the order is currently there for?
General Manager.
Through the Mayor, we would anticipate having the assessment back in February, so we would come to Council probably by March at the latest.
Councillor Kassim, are you finished?
Thank you.
Councillor Brederhoft.
Thank you. I also fully understand your point of view and feel for this sort of debacle and pickle that you're in and that you both are in as the seller and the buyer. However, as a council, and we've talked a lot today about community assets and community interests, and you know, unfortunately for you, but for the community, heritage listed and old houses are also part of that community asset. And then so I'm talking to you and they say, this motion really asks us to prioritise private commercial interest over the public good, and to do so even before we have an expert evaluation from our own council. So I think this is where we as councillors have a responsibility to protect heritage, and we have also a legal right to actually do that. It's indeed in our responsibility to protect potential significant community assets while proper assessment occurs, and we've just had that actually with the Bexley Bowling Club issue as well. So we need to be mindful of how we treat these issues. Now we are being asked to revoke a protection that is based on a report commissioned by the person who stands to profit from its removal. And I don't think that is not how heritage protection works. That is not how good governance works either. So we need to be frank. And a heritage order here doesn't mean that development can't occur. It means development must be sympathetic to heritage values. And property owners develop heritage-listed buildings all the time, as we've heard from the submissions. And we have many more submissions there. I couldn't count them all. They were so small listed today. So the real complaint here isn't that development is impossible. It is the development the purchaser wanted may need to be reconsidered. That is called planning controls, and they exist for good reason. Every purchaser, as I understand, takes risks, and heritage significance can be identified at any time, including during development application. That's not unfair. That's heritage protection doing its job. I actually also, to a point of Councillor Naji, have spoken to a legal person, and it was recommended that we as a council have every right to ask for to prioritise community goods, and that's what we are asking for here. So the General Manager has told us Council's detailed heritage assessment is currently being prepared. Why on earth would we preempt that work? Why would we revoke protection before our own experts have finished their assessment? And if this property truly has no heritage value, Council assessment will show that, and the appropriate processes will follow. But if it does have significant heritage, and we revoke this order tonight, based on an applicant's commissioned report, we will have permanently lost something that belongs to the community, not to one purchaser. And as far as I can understand, the contract has not yet been signed, so that might be not settled. So The public interest demands that we wait for Council's own assessment. The public interest demands proper process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Awada.
Did you want to speak? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, there's been a lot of discussion from councillors here tonight about telling the purchaser to renovate and make it sympathetic. But I guess when he went to the auction on the day, he had a dream to demolish, and he did his homework as far as council's official statutory document. Now, I would like to, I've read the GM has sent many attachments, and I do take interest because 10 years before I came into council, when that was a section 149, members of the family caught up, it wasn't heritage, it was about flooding. So they went through a lot of pain where the certificate said it's not flood affected, but when they did put plans through, it was rejected over and over until it had to go to court. So it's close to my heart, and that's the reason I'm speaking tonight, and very strongly supporting Councillor Beswick's notice of motion. Now, there's been talk about, you know, we need to improve. That's not what we're discussing tonight. We know we failed. But are we discussing whether council failed or not failed, what we do in the future? We are discussing a property that was bought by a person for $3.5 million, and then down the track, about 4 weeks, I've got dates, so if you haven't read the complete document, I have detailed everything here and I'll read it in detail. Then council, by their failure, are telling this person, you can't do anything with this property. Is council going to compensate the person for the $350,000?
Point of order. I don't think council is saying that we can't do anything with the property. I think it's been made very clear. So I think that's a misrepresentation. It's been made very clear that a lot of renewal and urban renewal is sympathetic to heritage. I feel that's very disingenuous to say that people are saying we can't, the proponents can do nothing to that property.
There has been comments tonight, council, Bayside Council, not doing enough. That's not our issue tonight. That's not our issue. The issue tonight is the purchaser. On the 5th of September 2025, council issues the 10.7 planning certificate, previously known as 149 certificate, which clearly states that the property is not heritage listed. That's the issue tonight. Not within a conservation area. And what Councillor Kassim mentioned before, it was inaccurate about being listed, and the GM has actually clarified that. And it says redevelopment is permissible under the relevant SEPP, the SEP. So that's very, very clear. This is an official statutory document. The purchaser relies on this certificate in good faith. Why do we go to council before we buy the property? In order to make that right decision on the day. Now, the purchaser relied on this certificate in good faith, acting lawfully and responsibly. Now, on the 26th of September 2025, the purchaser entered into a contract. So the contract was signed. It was again incorrect about not signing a document, because when you go to auction, you do sign a document. So there's been a lot of misinformation here tonight. And I'm doing this because there's been a lot of interest in this notice of motion on social media, people watching on online. It'll be important that they know exactly the actual right information. So on the 26th of September 2025, the purchaser entered into a contract to purchase the property from Ms. Justin with the 10.7 certificate attached to that contract. Then, which was mentioned, then on the 23rd of October 2025, council issued an interim heritage order without any prior warning. And I'm not quite sure whether even the buyer knew about it on that day. Councillors, we all have received a letter from the St. George Historical Society and Kogarah Progress Association. While these are respected community groups and they're not for profit, they work hard, their letter failed to address who bears responsibility for the significant financial losses now faced by the purchaser and the seller. It's not only the purchaser. Both letters made assertion of conflict of interest or improper motive made without evidence are inappropriate and detracts from the real planning issue. And I think there should be an apology to the councillor if they've read the... I mean, I'm in 4th Ward. Councillors in 5th Ward talked about the issue. Councillors in 1st Ward. It doesn't mean if something you believe strongly that council have made an error, you don't speak up about it. It doesn't matter what ward you're in. I mean, we all spoke tonight, and we're all from Ward 1 to right to the Ward 5. So I think it was very, very inappropriate, and both letters actually mentioned the same thing. To be clear, the person now faces a potential, and that's reading from the real estate, hearing the speakers tonight, you know, close to $350,000 if they withdraw from the contract. Should the property ultimately be heritage listed, the value could drop to close to $1 million, which I do believe that figure, Mr. Mayor. These losses stem directly from the reliance on council's own 10.7 planning certificate. This is the issue. It's not about whether we're doing the right job or will do the right job in the future. This is the very issue. We have a section 10.7, and the very reason you go to the counter, you pay for it, you get it printed out, and you make decisions on that. Not only on the heritage, on the flooding, on whether there's a road going through it. How else would you buy property? We all buy property. You've got to put yourself in the position of the purchaser. That's what I'm focusing on tonight. I ask you to put yourself in the position of the purchaser and the seller. Not only the purchaser, the seller, the lady that was there for 50 years. How would you feel if you did everything correctly, followed council advice, and yet were penalised for doing that exercise? Maintaining the heritage order, despite council's own statutory certificate, would be unjust, unreasonable, and contrary to the principles of fairness, transparency, and lawful planning practice. I do urge council to consider this carefully and support the motion put by Councillor Bezic. Thank you.
Councillor Iwata. Councillor Barlow is next.
I'll be supporting the foreshadowed motion because there is a lot of history here. Yes, this house was listed. It was item 148 in the Casson Walker study in 1991. I spoke to Bernie Shara, who now lives in Kako. He said straight out, no, he knew the house. He knew it straight away, knew it was on the list at that stage. Then I spoke to someone else who said the council of the time throughout the whole study that we did, the council before I was there, they threw the whole lot out. And they then started again with the late Ron Rathbone saying we'll go through the Victorian, we'll go through stages, and these councillors, the councillors of the day, it came to the stage where anyone that didn't want their house on the list got it taken off. It didn't matter how significant it was, and this was one of the ones that was on the list. It has an item number, and it was something to do with the front fence. It used to have a wrought iron or a railing on it, and they didn't get their heritage grant. That's what I was told today. I've looked at it. I was a bit disappointed with and I'm sorry to say it, but I'm very disappointed with the heritage part of the assessment of the house, because one of the rooms had a brick fireplace. It's irreplaceable. An ugly brick fireplace, and it's irreplaceable. I had an ugly brick fireplace in my 1913 weatherboard house, and we replaced it with the original tiled fireplace. We're lucky to find one, and a mantelpiece. So there was a little bit of concept, but it was DePito, I remember now. I'd forgotten the name of DePito in Wollongong Road. That was totally very run down. They actually extended that and put cabins or buildings surrounding it, because they were allowed to do it because it's on the heritage list. And I think the most amazing renovation and restoration was Victoria House. That was incredible, and they have an 8 townhouse development at the back of their property, because it wouldn't be allowed normally, but with the heritage listing. And I think Tunbridge, I haven't been in there, but I know it's an amazing restoration. I believe it didn't even have a staircase at one stage. So it's possible. I feel sorry for the owner, of the people that are purchasing it, and the owner at the moment, but it definitely was on the list, and I feel we need to start looking at, maybe look at the original Castle Walker study to what we have now, because I've got one from a long time ago, but not the original. But I can support the foreshadowed motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sarabanovsky.
I'd like to, further to my fellow councillor, I'd like to ask a question about, did the owner or anyone raise an objection in 1991?
Be shocked if we had that information. The General
I know,
Manager.
it's a vague, clutching straws.
I don't think. I think we'd have very few staff who would be aware of.
No answer? Because if there wasn't, I'd be baffed why we took it off. But what I'd like to say is there's clearly division about this, and I guess foreshadowing, it brings me to my foreshadowed motion. I know all the councillors have expressed sympathies to you and your family. Like, my heart actually goes out because I'm 22. I'm nowhere near of purchasing a property. I couldn't even imagine the stress that you're going through. And it really does says a lot when the old owner and the new owner both say that, you know, the property can go ahead. Normally it's one or the other, but there's both working together in agreement. But and I'm all for history. Like, the first motion I ever did in council was refurbishing the plaques of Brighton Le Sands Monument for the First Fleeters, because I'm very proud of my history and how Australia has become the nation it is. So without contradicting how much passion I've got for history...
Point of order, relevancy.
Getting to it. If we're to be a fair council...
Speaking about heritage is reasonable.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It's about history.
It's about his house.
Getting to it. If we're to be a fair council, and much to the discussion other councillors have said, that we need to do better, improvement. Well, this is where we start with it. So, on that note, I'd like to amend my foreshadowed motion and amend point 2 with seeking legal advice. I'd like it to actually be council seeks external legal advice at an arm's length, not our own internal legal advice, and for the external legal advice to advise council what was the whole process leading up to the IHO and why did we put the IHO, and also seek legal advice on the liability council may be placed on this matter, as we have an issue, we've issued a certificate with no listing with it.
Sorry, can you answer? We didn't have a report. Can you
Hello?
clarify that?
Mr Mayor?
Sorry, Councillor Nagy,
sorry.
the General Manager.
Sorry, through the Chair, if I can understand the comment that you just made, Councillor Sarabanovsky, are you saying that you believe Council instigated an interim heritage order without having any heritage advice?
No, I'm just simply asking to change my amendment, to amend point 2, to just simply say legal advice to be outside of our current legal advice, our legal team. Yeah, like external legal advice.
Right, okay. And if I can just also, leading on from that, clarify, Council would not have been able to put forward the interim heritage order without having a preliminary heritage assessment done, which has been distributed to councillors. So that piece of, I acknowledge, very preliminary, but it was done, and Parliamentary Council would not have agreed to the interim heritage order if that preliminary assessment hadn't been undertaken. I have been advised by the Director that we are pushing to try to get back to you to the first council meeting in the new year with the more extensive and more detailed heritage assessment.
Thank you for that and clarifying that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to
Councillor
support
Morrissey.
the...
Sorry.
Thank you.
Councillor Morrissey, then Councillor Strong.
I'm really struggling with this one. I was completely on the fence when the initial information was circulated. There was no context behind that other than this Federation home was going to be subject to demolition. So look, I'll be honest, I said yes. I support it in that moment. We didn't now, subsequently, we've got a lot more information available to us, and I think Councillor Awada has made a number of good points, which I'm not going to repeat. I personally wouldn't want to see this house demolished. That's my personal view. But this is about a family and their livelihoods and everything that they've worked for a long period of time. In terms of the financing, if you go into a public auction and there's nothing mentioned about heritage, you bid in good faith that you'll be able to do certain things as described in the planning certificates supplied by Bayside Council, and you put your hand up with all that savings and wealth, that years of savings and wealth behind you, and put everything on the line in that 5 minutes, putting your hand up. And I've been there and I know what that feels like. And then for council, for a governing body to come and say, it's not on the report, but we're going to do something now after the fact, that's wrong. That's wrong. The impact that this is going to have, it's a public documents, there's $3.52 million, there's a 10% deposit on that. You get finance on that, and it's based on a loan to value ratio. I do actually do this for a living. So all of a sudden then, when the valuer goes in just before settlement to say, hey, let's get this money for this family, say, hold on, it's not worth 3.52, it's worth 2.5 maybe. So the family can't get the money, potentially. I don't know your financial situation, but theoretically you can't get finance. I couldn't get finance if I was in that situation, because I've relied on the fact I can get an uplift on this property, and I can rent the second one, and I'm going to get, and that's going to help, right? That's just common sense. So what's going to happen potentially is the family loses the deposit, which is 10%. That goes back to the vendor. The vendor is not well and being cared for in a nursing home. They're $1 million out of pocket now because they take the $350. They have to then resell the property. She's not going back, right? So there's $1 million loss there. Council then potentially is liable for that loss because we caused that loss in value. So if I'm the vendor, I'm suing the council as well. I'll take my 2.5 now and I'll get the other $1 million from council plus my legal expenses, please. That's what I would be doing. In the meantime, we've got the family here who has now lost $350,000 plus the stress and anxiety. I'd be saying, well, I'm going through the council for that $350,000 as well, because I relied on this information. I went to a public auction. There was nothing from the agent or the auctioneer. They didn't know. So outside looking in, I would suggest Bayside's getting two lawsuits on this, and that's absolutely, if I was the buyer or if I was the vendor, I would be doing that, because everyone has done this transaction, the vendor and the buyer, in good faith. And council has made a mistake. And yeah, absolutely, do we have to look at our heritage structures and frameworks and all that stuff? Absolutely we do. And the community, as mentioned numerous times tonight, is screaming at us to make sure we do that. But we've got to do that as a council. We can't impact a hard-working family and a vendor who's been there, I think it was 50 years, who now needs the money to enter that stage of their lives, and we're saying, oh, hold on, but our community wants the heritage protections and things like that. That's absolutely fine if we did it a year ago before it was on the market. It's not fine if we do it after the fact. And I did not have that context when I put my hand up and said I'm supportive of the heritage order. So, as I said from the start, I'll be clear, I would hate to see this property demolished, but that's beside the point. That's council's problem. It's a mistake by council that we didn't pick this up a year, 2, 10, 20 years ago. It sounds like it was picked up and put on and put off, and that was the council decision of the day, and we're not responsible for that, but we have to be accountable to respect those decisions, and that's you win some, you lose some. So I'm sort of regretting, I am supporting Councillor Bezic's motion. I don't want to see the house gone, but I am conflicted. But if that happened to me, if I've worked hard for 20, 30, 40 years, and I've got a young family and I've put $350,000 out of my bank account, I'm looking at a couple of $1 million loan, but I've got a plan to actually repay that and set that up for my family's future. And then someone comes to me and says, oh, hold on, no, we just made a mistake because just 1 second, and it's going to take us 4 or 5 months to actually even get a report, then to come back and make a decision. I'd be lawyering up now. I'm talking about in my own personal view. This is not the view of council. This is what I'd be doing. So that's why I just wanted to explain why I'll be voting for Councillor Bezic's motion, because I know it's very contentious, and I think my vote requires some context. I'm a member of the National Trust. I go and see all their homes. I love all that stuff, and I'm hugely supportive. However, this is about someone's livelihood and their hard work and their financial legacy for their family. And as someone with a family and has been through this similar, I'm supportive of removal. So thank you.
Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Briefly, Mr. Mayor.
I think,
Sorry, Councillor Narji, you've already spoken to the motion.
I think the responsible thing to do
tonight, the amendment.
Councillor Narji, we're not at the amendment yet, but also
the responsible
another councillor speaking.
Tonight is to support Councillor Saranowski's amendment. I really believe that. And I acknowledge the distress of Dr. Ali Amin. He reached out to me and was thoughtful, respectful and genuinely distressed, and I understand that. And how unsettling that would be.
Sorry. Can we just, I move the motion be put.
Yeah, fair enough.
We don't have the full picture yet. We don't have the full
sorry,
picture.
Councillor Strong is entitled to put the motion be put after 2 speakers have spoken in favour and against. It goes to a vote. All those in favour of Councillor Bezic's motion?
Aye. Aye.
All those against? Aye. I think the noes have it, that division. Councillor Curry?
For.
Sorry, for Councillor Nardi's reference, we're voting on whether the motion be put. Councillor Morrissey?
We're voting on whether the motion be put.
Well, the motion be put, correct.
Okay.
Councillor Morrissey? Councillor Bezic? Councillor Boutillo? Councillor Strong? Councillor Kassim? Councillor Brederhoft? Councillor Sarabanovsky? Councillor Dusku? Councillor Awada? Councillor Barlow? Councillor Douglas?
You missed me, Mr. Mayor. I'm for it too.
And Councillor Narji for, myself against. I think we can allow discussion, but I declare the motion carried. The motion now be put. So that's Councillor Bezic's. You had a foreshadowed motion, Councillor Sarabanovsky, so if the motion fails, then the foreshadowed motion.
Could I request an amendment to the original motion?
What, sorry?
Could I request an amendment?
No, the motion's now being put. It's too late. Councillor Curry? We're doing Councillor Bezic's notice of motion as put. Councillor Morrissey? Councillor Bezic? Councillor Boutillo? Councillor Strong? Councillor Kassim? Councillor Brederhoft? Councillor Sarabanovsky? Councillor Dusku? Councillor Awada? Councillor Barlow? Councillor Douglas? Councillor Narji?
For.
And myself, I'll abstain. What's that? What's that? And that's declare the motion carried, yes?
Councillor Douglas.
Sorry, Councillor Douglas.
Yeah, we haven't got
Yeah,
there.
sorry, we haven't highlighted
We haven't got
several
there yet.
people. Oh, it's 7 all. All right. exercise my casting vote. No, it's lost automatically.
Did you say it's 7
Barlow.
Barlow's not there.
Yeah, we don't have Barlow now. So it being 7 votes each way, I will explain my abstention. So, I think it was mentioned in earlier that this was done without consultation with councillors by staff. I do know the General Manager did ask all staff what they thought of this before unilaterally issuing an IHO, and the vast majority of people around the table supported that. I didn't personally, and for all the reasons that have been highlighted. But now that this is in place, I would continue to say I think we need to do this quickly. But councillors, if you're going to support this stuff outside of the council room, you need to consider your position very carefully, because there are real human impacts, which I'd say are exactly what I highlighted at the time. Councillors, with the motion lost, we move to the foreshadowed motion. Councillor Saravinovsky.
No, I'm quite happy with that. If the motion was adopted, the previous one, I was going to ask for an amendment, but if the foreshadowed is being debated, then I'd leave the foreshadowed as it is.
Councillors, further discussion? Councillor Brederhoft.
Just a question, in the interest, can we speed up the process of the heritage assessment? Engage an external consultant?
I think the General Manager made the point that this will come back at the first meeting in the new year.
Yes, but I want to ask, can we speed it up?
General Manager.
Through the chair, given that Christmas and New Year is upon us, the earliest we can come back, we can't come back to you at the December meeting. The papers for that meeting are almost, in readiness now. The earliest we could come back to you would be the February meeting.
Can I ask a question?
Councillor Disco.
I'd just like to understand, and I'm sure most of the ratepayers would like to understand, in terms of legal ramifications here, what's the process, and how much are we looking at as ratepayers?
I think that's quite a lengthy and complex question. What I can say is that the purchaser has a date already in the Land Environment Court in January for a mention. I would assume that there won't be a decision until at least the following month, so the timing will work for that. As I say, our advice is that legally Council was able to apply for the interim heritage order. Comments were made earlier about the timing of that decision, and yes, it was done very quickly based on the fact that the CDC could have been acted on the following day after I was made aware of it, which meant that demolition could have occurred within 24 hours of me becoming aware of the issue. So in my mind, this was to buy a little bit of time for us to do that proper assessment. So I think we could certainly get some further legal advice, but to date it is that we have the ability to do that. And in response to trying to do this as quickly as possible, we are pushing it through as fast as we can. If we have an answer, we can distribute the assessment prior to the February meeting, but it will come back to the February meeting for a decision.
Just a question on that foreshadowed motion, Mr. Mayor. I mean, that's completely pointless because the settlement will happen this year. So what's the point of the February? That will definitely be in court before any of this happens. So I think that's pointless having the foreshadowed motion.
Sorry, Councillor Saravinovsky, I think, was up first.
So if it's the heritage assessment report's expected in February or before February? hearsay. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Sorry, you're asking me to predict when a consultant
course.
will complete a fairly complex piece of work. What I'm told is that we're asking for it to be as fast as possible, so it'll probably be January. My comment is about when does council next meet formally, and it will be the February meeting.
Could we possibly do an extraordinary council meeting in January? If the report comes back quicker, in the interest of all parties, we could do an extraordinary council meeting.
We could if there are a quorum of councillors available to attend a meeting in January. That is
I'll be
possible.
confident of that. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kassim.
Thank you, and so thank you for responding on that, General Manager. So then, in that case, I would like to add a third point to the foreshadowed motion that an extraordinary council meeting be called to consider this matter as soon as the heritage assessment is available, noting that expedition has been requested. I think in accordance with what I've said
That's
earlier.
not the process for calling an extraordinary meeting, so there's plenty of scope to
but
call
then
an extraordinary
but
meeting.
anyway, that
So
extraordinary
I'm
one
sure you
called.
can signal your intention to call an extraordinary meeting at
Yes,
the time.
please. And fourth, if it is possible to add this, because I think it is relevant to the learning which we've all had through this horrible suffering, that council review its processes for monitoring property sales of any properties which have been nominated for listing as heritage properties in earlier council heritage studies, with a view to ensuring that all future 10.7 certificates indicate that the property may be listed as a heritage property, as council is currently reviewing its listings. I've sent it to you.
Thank you, Councillor Kassim. Further discussion?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, this is a sad night on the basis that the council has failed in their process in the past. I'm not talking about this council, going back to the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000 until present. I want you to put your lawyer's hat, and I'm not expecting an answer or a decision of what you think, but I just want to reiterate a few things. This property was not heritage listed. The purchaser goes to buy it in good faith. He did his due diligence, and it's not heritage listed. We are impacting people's life. That's what's so sad about tonight. Families, because of a process that was wrong in the past. Now, I respect Councillor Douglas about urban heritage protection. We should work on that in the future, not to, to do the right thing, have the right process, and make sure that we don't impact any person like this purchaser. I've got to commend Councillor Morrissey. He explained it so eloquently, is exactly what I'm thinking. What's my conscience? He spoke so well. He explained it. Anyway, Mr Mayor, I'm just thinking this is so critical. We are this council, because it's not our money, it's ratepayers' money. You wait and see that if the purchaser already started the Land and Environment Court, you will see the outcome that most of us argued in due diligence for the community to save them ratepayers' money. We're going to end up costing this council so much money by not following the proper process. And the process is 10.7 certificate was issued. We acted after the purchase. If we acted before the purchase, Mr Mayor, then you could say that we did the right thing. So just want to reiterate that, and I'll leave it up to my colleagues anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Any further discussion?
Sorry,
Councillor Morrissey.
That number 4 doesn't make sense. So we're going to monitor property sales of any properties which have been nominated. So once it's on the market, the contract's already done. It's a legal requirement to have a property for sale before it's a contract. So we can't actually go, we'd be doing the same thing. We'd be kicking this down the road for the next person if we do number 4. Can we just? I'm happy for it
I
to be
think
changed.
she's talking about that generally we should be.
That's not what it says.
I think it's potentially not.
Any properties, any future properties, you want to put in the word future.
But how do we if we're monitoring property sales, it is on the market and it's a legal requirement to have a contract before the property goes on the market. So if it's missing, the same thing will reoccur.
Okay, sorry. The 10.7 certificate.
Okay, but the 10.7 certificate, by the time the property is on the market, Mr. Mayor, when the property is on the market, the 10.7 certificate has already been issued. It is a legal requirement. So if we do this and all agree to this, we're talking about council has to be better and get better. This makes us kick it down the road.
But it's before.
Sorry, can we one person at a time, please? Councillor Curry.
If I can just assist, I think we are all in agreement that we need to be better at heritage, and I understand your intent, but I think we would be better off as a council putting a motion separate to this matter about undertaking a heritage review of houses. That is a separate matter. So can I suggest we delete it from this and you put up a motion at the next council asking council to do some work on heritage, because, you know, currently this is not, we can't do it at this point in time, and I just want to reiterate, it is totally unjust to do this post a contract. It is totally unethical and unjust in my mind. And, you know, fine if you want to defer it because that's the way the council's fallen tonight. But yeah, I'm going to suggest let's just stick to the matter and additional things, deal with it with a new motion where we need to do that work. No doubt about it. And you can engage both historical trusts in order to do that work.
Councillor Sim, maybe want to respond to that.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I appreciate this is difficult. I guess my view was that it may be possible to do an amended 10.7 because it is far better for people to at least know before.
That's not how 10.7.
All right, that's fine. Thank you. I withdraw then.
Councillor Saravinovsky.
I was going to say point 4 can just be a discussion paper instead of dealing with the property. That's what I'd rather say. With the heritage assessments, council has passed history reports, correct? If I know, speculating, but if we had passed heritage reports, what more detail do we need to give a direct answer on whether it's a heritage or not? Because we do have past heritage reports.
General Manager.
Through the Mayor, what Council has already resolved to do is to review its heritage approach through a new strategy. That would involve some assessment of the condition of properties currently. The report that we referred to earlier, I think it was from 1991. So whether or not it's still relevant today is what would need to be assessed.
Councillors, any further discussion?
Can't believe it. Can I just say a couple of lines?
Okay, Councillor Nardi, have you spoken to the amendment already?
No, I don't know. Have I? You're the mayor.
Somebody could put that the motion be put.
Thank you, Mr.
We have a motion from Councillor Curry that the motion be put. Seconded to Councillor Morrissey. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Motion before us to defer this for consideration until the heritage report is effectively prepared, and there's been an indication from councillors that we're willing to come back in January to consider that item. All those in favour? All those against? Yeah. Why don't we just have a division? All those in favour? Councillor Curry? Councillor Morrissey? This is the foreshadowed motion that is now the motion to bring this back in early next year.
I'm voting for.
Councillor Bezic, Councillor Bigelow, Councillor Strong, Councillor Kasim, Councillor Brederhoft, Councillor Saravinovsky, Councillor Discu, Councillor Awada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Douglas, Councillor Naji,
Against.
and myself for, declare it carried. Thank you. So the item will come back early in the new year, and appreciate the difficulty of this matter. Councillors, it being 10 to 10, suggest a... No, the item's over, Mr Amin. Sorry, no, you can't speak, unfortunately. All right, thank you, councillors. I suggest that it being 10 to 10 that we have a 5-minute break, stretch our legs before proceeding with the rest of the agenda. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Morrissey. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. So we'll reconvene at 9:55 p.m. What time? 5-minute break.
Yeah, Richard, it's only our policy, it's not.
Yeah, it's not operating practice.
Yeah, it
That's
won't
a-
be in the model code. I'm pretty sure.
Is it in our code though?
Certainly.
Thank you, councillors. We're back online.
Yes.
Resume the meeting at 10:01 p.m. Moving to reports of council. Item 11.1, amended draft submission on Sydney Airport Master Plan 2045. Additional information to item CPE 25.033. Moved Councillor Douglas. Seconded Councillor Brederhoff.
I simply wanted to add something in that was missed from the discussion in the committee that I think is important. We made a point, or I made a point, that we need to get the Sydney Airport Master Plan to work better with the Cooks River Alliance. So I have an additional amendment to add in to that submission, which is pushing the Sydney Airport for better environmental outcomes around waterway management, specifically preventing stormwater pollution and rubbish from entering the waterway, and to actively participate in the Cooks River Alliance's activities and initiatives, which I have sent through to the staff. Yeah.
Councillor Douglas. Councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 11.2, electric vehicle curbside charging stations, public exhibition report. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Kassim. I just wanted to flag on this, unless there's anybody else to discuss it, concerns from residents that Site 17 had additional submissions related to it that weren't captured in the report, and I just wanted to defer that site until that can be investigated, because we should make sure that all community input is considered.
Yep.
I'd just like to add a point that approves the 15 site, it says approves the 15 site, so perhaps approves the 15 site subject to the deferral of Site 17. Deferral. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Kassim?
Yeah, just quickly also, thank you, Mr Mayor, just if I could just clarify, there is a reference there to this coming back to council in February. I presume that therefore will include sites which were requested. So I noticed that sites were requested in Bonar Street, several spots, possibly the same person, who knows, but in several spots there was a request of Bonar Street given the high density apartments there, and I presume that they will be taken into account before this comes back to us in February, if that could be included.
Is that captured? We're restarting the computer. Great. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Barlow?
Just because of Site 17 and the floor and that, I'm concerned about some of the other figures that are in that report, because that was said was 50%, yes, we'll put it in, and there was 7 or 6 against it, and only 1 for it, so I'm concerned. And I will note that I know Ward 4 was all withdrawn. I will claim up to that because it was on Facebook, I said it was me, and we already have 2 there. I don't even know if they're used very well, because in the report there was one that said, oh, we need one in was it Shore Street? I said, no, there's one in Shore Street, Kinsell Grove. That was one of the major incorrect addresses. So I'm more concerned now with the fact that we've not got one in there that is incorrect. But what about all the others? Has anyone looked at Deceiver and worked out the maths on whether 50% is 1 and 1, and then you go and read all the reports further down, and I think there was 7 against it, not 1. So that's my concern. So I'm not sure if anyone's read all their area. I know Armtreek is a bit of a problem. They were worried about losing all their parking. So, but anyway, Ward 4 is getting 2, and apparently after I spoke to the EV people at the local government conference, we have 5,555 electric cars in Bayside. compared to 136,000 normal cars, diesel ones out there. And so just sort of that was what I thought that was interesting. But in their map, they showed us, and there's a proposal, and I don't know if council knows about it, about getting two in Bexley in council car park. I'm not sure if they know, but I might put that in and ask, because I went, where are they? And when I worked it out, no fast charges. But when I worked, it was also council land. It wasn't private land. So it was interesting to find out how many cars there are compared to what we have. So, yeah.
Councillor Barlow, any further discussion? All right. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Item 11.3, Bayside Town and Shopping Centre Spring/Summer Cleaning Program Service Options. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Curry.
There was good debate at this, councillors, at the committee meeting, where we talked about the difference between a short-term spit and polish versus a permanent solution to beautifying Bayside, and that's what it is, in my view. So I think the first option, which has been recommended, will serve a short-term purpose, and it's even written down that way in the report. But option 2 is actually sustainable, where we're looking at more permanent staff to keep Bayside beautiful every day of the year, not for a season. So I want to change. I know governance is struggling at the moment, but I'm rising to move option 2 on that paper, not option 1. And in summary, we're on 11.3. And option 1, it says in the, I'll just quote verbatim here, rapid response team offers a short-term, highly visible enhancement during the busiest period of the year. Absolutely brilliant. Spit and polish. Option 2, a sustained year-round improvement to service quality, resilience and community outcomes. That's what we're here for, councillors, to provide that. So I'm moving option 2 on this paper, and we'll seek your endorsement of that option.
Thank you. Support both. I think that just becomes the motion that we endorse option 2. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Barlow, we'll note it's 10:10 p.m. if we're...
Yeah, no, place liaisons officers review of town centres. Can that liaisons officer, whoever it is, while they're going around the town centres, check on all the outdoor dining? Because especially in Brighton, it doesn't comply. So if they're going around, can that be one of their jobs to do?
Take that as a question with notice. Councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Just note for governance's purpose in the recording that option 2 was moved. Item 11.7, Algwa Conference 2026, call for nominations. I think that should be Algwa, not Alwaga. Councillors, do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. We need some councillors to attend.
It's March. So it's just daytime.
So I think we have Councillor Brederhoft, Councillor Kassim, Councillor Dusku, Councillor Curry, Councillor Barlow. Are you interested in attending? No.
Yes.
I believe Algwa is for women.
Men do attend though.
Men do attend. Men do attend?
Men can attend if they wish to.
There you go.
Councillor Nagy went.
Male councillors can attend if they wish to. All right. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item CPE 25.035, planning proposal request 204 Rocky Point Road, Cogra. Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Bezic. Councillors, any discussion?
We had a community meeting there yesterday afternoon.
Sorry, I moved it. Speak.
Yeah. Would you like to speak first, Councillor Morrissey?
Yeah, I want to. The committee, at the committee, the resolution was to have a site visit. that's been done, but there's no actual pathway. So I'm moving that the original recommendation at the committee, presented to the committee, become the motion.
All right, so that's the motion before us. Councillor Morrissey, do you want to speak to that before opening it up, or no?
No, right of response.
All right, Councillor Douglas.
Thank you. So we did have a site visit there yesterday afternoon. Was it yesterday, Councillor Kassim? It feels like longer than that. And there was, general consensus that the residents wanted it to be rezoned as residential rather than this industrial site. And that they also wanted it to stay within the planning envelope that was originally mandated by council. So I do have suggestions which were going to be put up as an amendment, but I'm a little bit unsure with the process now. Do I have to put it up
I
as
think you put it up as a foreshadowed motion.
Can I put that up as a foreshadowed motion then, please? They're having a little bit of technical issues. I can read out the foreshadowed motion. So just we had the site visit yesterday. We had, I think, 25 people there. So the result of that is that the council resolved not to proceed with the planning proposal to amend the building height control in Bayside Local Environmental Plan 2021 for 204 Rocky Point Road, Kogarah. That a report be prepared for the City Planning and Environment Committee outlining options to permit residential development on 204 Rocky Point Road, Kogarah, including the scope of planning and associated work required, any supporting studies by external experts that would need to be commissioned, and an estimate of the cost to council to fund the planning proposal process for this site. So basically, in summary, the residents are very clear that they don't want this industrial area there within the residential area. There's a residential area, an industrial area that's been rezoned for residential across the road. This would make an islanded industrial site, which would be 24 hours with lighting. There's residents living right next to it. They would prefer it to be residential. They don't want it overshadowing. They don't want 24-hour lighting and 24-hour comings and goings to a storage facility. They are also aware that extra residential may require extra traffic and parking, and we did talk to them about the pros and cons. We listened. We didn't put forward our own ideas. We were there to listen, and this is the results of that listening activity.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas. Further discussion, councillors? Councillor Morrissey, right of reply. No one else is speaking.
I just want to say that essentially I went to the meeting because I was a bit interested in this topic, and I mean the other issue is, well, if this was a faced delay with this proposal, they were considering going to the Housing Development Authority and upzoning that for lots of units. So I think the people living in the adjoining sites would probably prefer having a storage facility as opposed to having a high density residential development.
Just point of order, I don't believe that was what was discussed at the committee. They did make a threat, but it wasn't to go to land and housing. No, they didn't. They said they actually didn't want to develop residential. But we did explicitly ask the residents, look, this could mean 12-storey, 15-storey high residential apartment complex here. Would you be prepared for that? Is that the worth of two evils? Like, we did really debate that and make that very clear to them, and still, overwhelmingly the response was that they would prefer residential.
Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Morrissey.
Yeah, what was discussed at the committee, and I just wanted to remember this isn't, firstly, it's not a DA. This is not a development application. It's a planning proposal to amend a height plane, which means what's proposed there is actually legal and compliant, outside the DA process. But what is proposed is actually compliant with the current zoning. It's just about the whether we have a stepped height plane or a fixed one. Mr. Barber, can you just confirm that is yes? That's correct. So that's what we're talking about. What they're proposing is not anything that is outside what's allowable within this zone. I'm speaking. The reason I'm supportive of the proposal before us is that having observed such high density development across our LGA, and certainly we need housing, is that when we do have apartments, we have transport issues, parking issues, noise issues, people issues, and we all hear about that. And I think Councillor Douglas, you sort of said, what's the least worst option potentially? And I'm speaking on my behalf here, and how I view it is that a relatively quiet neighbour being a storage facility with people coming and going, they'll come and unload, and you don't have parking issues, you don't have people coming and going multiple times a day. If every apartment has one car space, and depending on which planning laws they use, maybe there's two, but generally there's one car space. Sometimes there's no car spaces given its proximity to other transport. People are going to park on the street, then we're going to have parking issues, then we're going to have all social issues that are surrounding that. So the reason I'm supportive of the proposal before us is that I believe a storage facility would be a much quieter and harmonious neighbour. It won't look the same as an apartment building, absolutely, that's granted, but there's going to be far less impact on the local residents with a storage facility as opposed to 100 apartments, 150, depending on what uplift they may seek. The proponent, I wouldn't consider them threatening at the committee. They were forceful in wanting to get their point across that they do have options. The first option is to proceed with the proposal before us, which is an amendment to the LEP. And if that's not possible, then they will go and seek potentially a rezoning of the land, and then they'll probably be seeking uplift under the current government frameworks. So I endorse and support the motion before us. Thank you.
Councillors, any further discussion?
Can I just, as a reply to that, just quickly
You can't. That was the
No?
right of reply. Sorry,
Okay.
Councillor. Councillors, all those in favour? This is a division. Councillor Curry. He's back. Can we get the division up? Maybe.
It's been
Got a notepad? Pencil?
Can we count?
Who's useless? Just call the names out.
All right. Councillor Curry.
4.
Councillor Morrissey.
4.
Councillor Bezic.
4.
Councillor Boudeleau. 4. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kassem. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Saravinovsky. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Wada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Douglas. Councillor Naji.
4.
And myself 4. Declare the motion carried. Item CS 25.037, response to notice of motion establishing a sports advisory committee or sports forum. I think this is just this was pulled out, but it's just a response to, it's a response to notice of motion. Yep. We have a mover and a seconder. Move Councillor Douglas. Seconded Councillor Brederhoft.
I just wanted to add I wanted to ask if we could add one additional point, that Council creates performance metrics for these forum events to ensure diversity, like women in small sport and smaller clubs, and that a survey and assessment is conducted after events for reflection on participation to ensure all voices feel safe and heard. And that's because we have had a lot of aggression in sporting clubs, and I have been at a community consultation, not on sport, but where there have been very aggressive behaviours, and I think it's really important that we make these a safe space for everybody in our community.
Councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. The next one you pulled out, Councillor Douglas, is a response to a question with notice. There's no discussion on that item. So CS 25.038 need to be dealt with for the record. Item CP 25.055, Tyndale Reserve Carlton. A mover and a seconder. Move Councillor Dusku. You seconding that, Councillor Barlow.
All I want to know is that at the committee meeting, I made a comment about the exercise equipment. Could that, and that hasn't been changed in the minutes, but I could just refer it back to the officer, and also was the fact that the gazebo where the gentlemen meet needs to stay. At the moment, it's not there at all, and you've got to have them in their one place.
Through the Mayor, the staff did take on board the comments made at the committee, and the plans that will go on exhibition will show that the gazebo is remaining exactly in the place that it is currently.
Could I make a comment or a question actually? If we could add bathroom facilities at the park. I've been there quite a few times, and over the last 30 or so years, and really needed to use some bathroom facilities. I believe there is room for that.
It's a budgeted item. You can't add an amenities block at the council meeting.
Could I put a notice of motion then?
Well, for the next meeting, yes.
That's all right. As a person that knows the area and has them come into the shop, there is a toilet at Short Street. You do not need, and what attracts people at all the parks was the drug dealers. I had one come into the shop, he said, we need a toilet. I didn't realise he was a drug dealer. So they create unsavoury people, and we don't try and encourage that. And when you've got a toilet just up at Carlton, at the station, that's what you have. That's what it's for.
Councillor Disco, just a quick word.
Really quickly, I've had a lot of people ask for bathroom facilities at that park. I think it would make it more welcoming. Thank you.
Right. Suggest you put through a notice of motion towards the next year's budget. Councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. I believe we're now moving to notices of motion of 37 minutes. Item 13.2, Coastal Toilet Shower and Bathing Facilities Assessment and Renewal Plan. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Douglas.
I would like to reserve my right of reply, but give grace to not do a speech.
Very good. Councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. It's just a great approach to any motions that can be taken as read. Item 13.3, advocacy for Bexley Station on proposed Cogra to Parramatta train line. Moved Councillor Brederhoft, seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Brederhoft.
Same.
Very good. Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.4, establishment of the Bayside Shorebird Protection Zone. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Again, any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.6, it's very efficient. Confirmation of Botany Swim Club at the new Botany Aquatic Centre. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Curry. Reserve the right of reply. Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We did have 37 minutes. Item 13.8, facilitating access and understanding for Bayside's migrant and refugee communities. Moved Councillor Kassim, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Kassim. Councillors, any discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.9, mural art celebrating local culture and history in Bayside. Moved Councillor Kassim, seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Kassim. Any further discussion, councillors? Declare that all those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.10, fencing playgrounds. Moved Councillor Barlow. Seconded Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow.
I would appreciate if Councillor Barlow could explain this one, actually. Sorry. Well, just if you could explain it would be helpful.
I'll explain it that there's parks on corners on busy roads. There is no fencing around them. There's one being indicated where the playground is in Carlton on a busy corner. There's one we've just completed in Taylor Street. Guinea Street is extremely busy. The comments were it would have been nice to stop. If you've got a child that's a runner, you've got to be on the go the whole time. I had a climber, but it was just the fact that when you're putting the fence, when you're designing it and you look at where it is, you then decide whether it should have a fence. It was actually to be putting into the safety of the area. It's not, and that was what it was all about, so that it gets into the, you don't add it later, like we're adding things later in some parks.
Councillor Barlow, further discussion? I guess there's a lot of subjectivity around what a busy road is as well and how close the playground is. I mean, I think one of my local playgrounds at Lance Studdert Reserve is a good example of this, where it's actually set back from the park, but is that close to a busy road? Like, it's quite a long way from the roadway. It doesn't need a fence. But I'm sure the officers will take that into account when they're considering it, and I'm sure they can provide options for fencing costs. Councillors, all those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.11, Project Planet Annual Event. Move Councillor Strong, seconded Councillor Kassim. Councillor... Yeah. I think the intention was to continue running it. I think we should take some learnings from this year's event. It could be bigger and better, and it's a great opportunity, but it's about keeping these things going. That's part of a great new slew of events. All those in favour, councillors? All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.12, Paint the Bridge. Move Councillor Strong.
I might just quickly put it in context, like the bridge down there at the corner of Bay Street and Grand Parade, it's a bit scruffy, brutalist. We need to brighten it up, pardon the pun. But, and you know, there's issues with shutting the road down to do it, but I was talking to Councillor Barlow at the conference and she mentioned maybe making panelling elsewhere, be easier to produce, and then attaching it to the bridge would save like expensive road closures. And then the stairs down to the footpath on the other side could be done just normally. First Nations consulting with art project. Obviously, we need to discuss ownership and who to talk to about maintenance and ongoing feasibility. So that involves a study, and that's what it says in the motion. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Bezic.
The only thing, I think no one, I mean, that's sort of a hangover from the original time when there was a crossover from the second floor of the hotel to cross the street. I don't think anyone really uses that bridge much anymore. Do you?
There you go. I think the bigger challenge is it's not our asset. Like, it's not about whether we can close the road or not. We just don't own the bridge.
Yeah, could we explore the possibility by talking to other stakeholders about it just being such an iconic spot for
I think perhaps the first, rather than doing a report, we should write to the asset owner and see if they have any interest in the bridge being painted.
Does that involve changing the motion tonight, or...?
I'd suggest that we write to the asset owner.
Yeah.
Which I assume is who actually owns it? Is Transport plus the hotel?
Brighton owns it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's owned by the Novotel. Yeah. They're no longer a Novotel. Well, perhaps the motion should be that we write to the asset owner, being Oscars Hotel Group, seeing if they have any interest in the bridge being painted. We always write inspired letters. Any further discussion, councillors? Sorry, we need a second. Do we have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Douglas. So the motion is to write to the asset owner to see if they're interested in painting the bridge in line with the motion. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.13, protection of the community voice and environment in New South Wales planning reforms. Move Councillor Strong. We need a seconder. Seconded, Councillor Barlow.
As we've seen tonight, with some of the issues, it's so important that the community has a voice. And I know the Planning Systems Reform Bill is passed in both houses, but we cannot change that. But what we can do with this motion is to ensure that Bayside does not sit silently while the biggest overhaul in New South Wales planning laws in 50 years reshapes how developments will affect our residents. This motion is about relaying our concerns to the state government, to local members in our community, that these reforms will have real impacts and will sideline local voices. They will centralise assessments and they will reduce the role of councils in decisions that shape neighbourhood character, the environment and livability. My motion recognises the new legislative reality and reframes our role within it. We ask the state to guarantee that even under this new framework, the community still has a meaningful voice. We ask for transparent environmental assessments, strong safeguards for wetlands, bushland and foreshore areas, and adequate resources for councils who must now operate under a tightened centralised regime. And while the GM is correct that the bill cannot be amended at this stage, nothing prevents Bayside from advocating for future regulatory changes, from engaging with LGNSW and from communicating clearly with our residents what it will mean for them, including linking them to the state planning material. This motion ensures Bayside doesn't simply accept the shrinking of its role in silence. It says our residents matter, consultation matters and transparent planning matters, even as the landscape is now shifted around us. So it has already passed. I'm considered we could take out points 4 and 5 and just make it more about advocating for more control on the local level and letting our residents know what's happened with these planning laws.
Councillor Strong, any further discussion? Councillor Morrissey?
Sorry, I completely understand the intent, Councillor Strong, but we can't ask council staff to waste time on something that is already past both houses of the state government, parliament. It's not doable. The time for debate is said and done. There was time for advocating in the past. All the great work that we've all looked at tonight and all the things that we've now tasked our council officers with is very important. This is something that is unwinnable. So I can't support something it's not going to make any difference. It's gone through both houses of parliament, and it takes time and effort to go through these things and get it right. And yeah, I can't support it. Sorry.
Councillors, any further discussion? Right, motion be put. All those in favour? All those against? No. Declare the motion lost. There we go. Thank you, councillors. We now move to questions with notice. Councillors, are there any questions with notice?
No.
We used to go much later than this. This is still an early finish. I declare the meeting closed at 10:33 p.m. Thank you, councillors.